Andrea, Zizi and I set off on the adventure that has now lasted 4 years. 4 years without a home, 4 years living out of a suitcase, 4 years living on our wits, and in some cases by only the support of you guys on YouTube. Some of you have made a huge difference to that, and I'm always grateful for that. What I thought I would do today is start the stream from the walkout at Victoria Station. There's a queue ahead of me getting off the train. I was a bit slow getting out of the train, so this is the little crowd of mostly Globe believers. So let me try and get it going. It's a 20-minute walk. So if you're watching later, you can fast forward this bit. But I'm going to do a little walk and talk, and then hey Dean, it's been good to have you in the field. Hi Nathan, it's been good to have you in the field, Dean. Sorry we couldn't get together in Kingsland recently, but other things were more pressing. You know, managing the needs of my family. Managing the needs of my family over the last few years have been a huge priority, the main priority, you know, and deciding as we have to educate Zizi without the need of state intervention, it's a real responsibility, and I take it quite seriously. As you know, we've had this system's authoritarians try and get in the way of that a few times, despite him being not a ward of the state, not a child of theirs, unbirth certificated. Tell me my audio's okay. I've got the microphone pointing at me this morning. So for those of you who don't come here very often, this is Victoria Station. Victorian apparently, a lot of cladding. And Victoria Street. When I worked at Westminster City Council for 10 years thereabouts, I used to come here every day, walk down that street to City Hall. Westminster is the only other city in London. Most people don't know that, but London has really only got 2 cities and a lot of boroughs, 33 actually. But Westminster is a city, as the same as London, the City of London, the Square Mile as they call it, is also. So bit of a sweaty run for the train, but it's a bit cooler now, so that's nice. Send money to Nigeria. I'm gonna go. Yep. All right. We're on a mission. What does that say? Fuck. That's what it says. England is just an idea. It's just a corporation over which men and women fight. Dude sleeping on the bench here. This is where you'll find a lot of sleepers during the day. London is beset with homelessness and other sorts of hardship. Good day, mate. All right, have a nice day. Don't film me, but you want the government. You don't mind that the government film you. The government are filming me pretty much every step I take. The mind control masters. The cameras are everywhere. Everywhere. Nice Porsche. You won't mind being filmed. Yeah, the cameras are everywhere, man. Oh, it's a battery operated one, I think. Battery operated Porsche. Who would have thought it? Not a fan of the battery cars. Not a fan of so many other the agendas. But this walk will be interesting because you're going to see a lot of buildings under the ground. People say they did that on purpose. I say that's unlikely. Very, very unlikely. You can see right from the bat, off the bat here. Lots of this under the ground stuff. Hopefully my signals are strong. I did send this link out to a few people, but I don't know that our friends at BlueTube are very keen on me. I'm not monetized, and I'm probably not monetizable. So, but all of these buildings here have got basements or sub-basements. And of course we see them all over. I'm just going to detour through this park here because I like this statue. It's significant. Feels like it's us being chased. And the thing is that in the wild, both have their place, you know. And from a soul growth, I was hanging out with my good friend Simon and Andy the other night, and we were talking about this. And you know, the thing is that oh, that's Buckingham Palace, by the way. Back end, staff quarters, down this way, and ever higher and higher defensive walls there. But the thing is that this world is the way we are, the way that mankind has become or been misled to become, is you know, it's like a Sodom and Gomorrah thing, you know. You can live in, you know, you can put your blinkers up and earn a good salary maybe, or not, and just kind of carry on and pretend that everything is hunky-dory. But that is obviously to immerse yourself in the material element of this place, rather than, this is all Buckingham Palace, by the way, the grounds of. I believe they dug all of that out, although I suspect there's a basement too. Hope the audio is okay. But the truth is that, you know, we can cast the bad guys, the archons, the whatever the, you know, whatever our ancient history is. We are something more than this material flesh. We are much more than that. Feels like we are. Just imagine. See how deep this one goes. Just imagine. Dirty down there, even though this is high-end real estate. Just imagine that this is your body. You know, that this inside of your body are pipes and cities and colonies and all going about their business. But if they become out of whack, out of sync, then what happens? The body must die, you know. Only to be rebirthed, only to be reborn anew. And I think that's what mud floods show us, is that every now and again you got to go for a detox, a cleanse out. I think that's what the earth does. But man, in his arrogance, in his ego, in his greed, pride, seeks to control the natural order. He seeks to control us ultimately, and we put toxins into the body, seeking to assuage the way we feel, or to amend the way we feel, and we end up doing things that are not in our good best interest, like needlecraft, for example. A lot of people love needlecraft these days. And even though the body is saying, whoa, 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 I'm dying suddenly here, people will still keep pushing the needles. See, under this makes no sense. Sven and I have done a few tours, but of course I've been looking at the underground buildings, ancient buildings for a very long time. And it seems evident, we don't need to be jealous, but it seems evident that there were societies long before that were, I can't even see over this one. There were societies long before who had a good thing going. They built beautiful buildings that seem to have lasted the test of time. Some of them we've destroyed. So maybe to hide the history. Maybe to make room for new needlecraft. It's hard to say, and I don't want to be calling it all out as bad, just to say that that's what it is. See under there, see a doorway leading under the street. All of this, to believe that all of this was intentionally dug out in order to fill it back in by people who had horse and carriage, man. Let me tell you, horse and carriage people, you can look at the Amish, horse and carriage people do not dig unnecessarily down. They'll build their structures upward. And of course, when you look at the buildings that the people in the 1800s were constructing, I don't mean these that they covered up, but those people were building small, simple places. Some dude uses this as a bedroom. So, Grosvenor Place. Still walking past the Buckingham Palace backyard. But yeah, they were building simple structures. They had simple carts with wooden wheels. Sometimes only steel. They could manufacture steel. Yes. Pardon me. I had a bite to eat before I came, and then went running to get to the train on time, and I think that just came up on me. So apologies for that. But yeah, this concrete work here, I think, is after the fact. Once they've dug this out, they've come back and they've dug an entranceway back into this building. I do have some chalk with me. I normally stop along the way and do a bit of chalking, but I'm going to keep walking for now. We're not far to Hyde Park. Look at those cameras up there. They're putting up cameras everywhere. We're moving from Les. Oh no, that sounds like I was about to say something else. We're all the way down those beautiful houses there. We'll have basements. We're moving from that to, pay per mile. More and more control, and yes, people are kicking off about that. There are definitely movements, and people who are in the truth seeker community, can take comfort from how many people are joining the awakening, as they call it. But it feels like protestation. We're only protesting the peninsula. That'll be £1 or £2 for a night, eh? I mean, that archway up there, is meant to be done by people pre horse and buggy, really. So Dean can't stay, I guess. Yeah. It's highly unlikely. Hello. Yeah, this is very highly unlikely. But these cities have become crowded, I have to say. Driving back in, thanks man. Driving back into London yesterday, we'd been in the countryside for a while. Driving back into London, it was a Saturday, and insane levels of traffic. Insane. Down here it's covering up something. Insane levels of traffic. So, you know, these cities are not keeping up with the growth, and there isn't that kind of encouraging people to find lives in the country, on the land. It's not at all. It's the opposite of that. The world is driving us into the cities. Is it a energy harvesting city? Electricity? Are they after our energy? Are the roadways designed, or the buildings set up to be some kind of grid system that uses the ether or returns something to the ether? These things I speculate upon. But what I was saying earlier is that we are here surely for growth, much more than just the monkey man, live and die, stardust hoopla that they try and tell people. Let me just put a little something down here, if you bear with me a moment. Obviously I've got the cool as a cucumber banners there, and I got some chalk in my bag, so I'm going to find a piece of chalk. Just a little bit off the walkway so that it doesn't get worn out too quickly. All right. Okay, first markings of the day. So hopefully as people approach, some will notice that, and it begins the journey of discovery. Obviously there's a lot of shall we say horse poop on the there's a lot of horse poop. Thanks honey, I just saw your message. There's a lot of horse poop. Like there's some evidence of it right here. Looks like Dave McKeegan there, and there's Professor Dave right there. And it's that sort of shit that you have to wade through in order to get to understanding this stuff. And you know, a lot of what they focus on is attacking the flat earth model, as it were, you know. And of course, all of us who've been doing this work for a while know that really the model itself is really just a model, and there are a number of models that are proponents or proponed by flat earth research. So it's not a done deal. Let me just put a little bit more down here. It's not a done deal, and that's why what you really need to focus on is not necessarily what is the model. it's that what isn't the model, you know, what is the model not? This is not great surface. Eating up the chalk here. I might put a little bit of yellow with that, just to get people's attention. Bear with me, please. As you can tell, they've looked at it before. They know what they know. And of course, young people, you think, oh, well, they've had less time for indoctrination. It doesn't quite work like that. They've had so many globes rammed down their throat. They look like the Michelin Man. Now we're going to walk through here, across the Speaker's Corner, which I expect will be chock-a-block with dogmatists in total belief of their dogma. Let's see, maybe a little bit here. Yeah, totally caught up in the fight of their own dogma. I think I'd never heard anyone say this before, but I saw somebody had this as a video title the other day. So we're great minds think alike, or perhaps someone saw me say it, heard me say it. Yeah, so I do think that we're on an epic soul journey, guys, and just like the Protestants, or Protestants, the guys at the head of the Catholic corporation, they don't mind which branch of the dogma you prefer. For them, it doesn't really matter. Jesus died for your sins, and you believe that whether you're a Protestant or a Catholic. Same with Islam, you know, the Sunni, Shia, Wahhabi, there's others. They all have the same like external authority. So it makes no odds to them. And in fact, if you have a little squabble with your Islamic brethren, they don't mind that either. Although it does eventually come down to a little bit like football, where, you know, a London team versus a Manchester United or something like that, they'll be arch enemies until Germany comes. And when Germany turn up, they all stand together under the three lions of united England. So we'll fight you during the season, but when the big national competition comes, we'll stand together like brothers in arms. So that's That's how it is with religion. But more importantly, it gets you putting some other bloke's name on the back of your shirt, or in the case of Christianity, the cross on your neck. And I'm sure it was Jesus who said the same, which is that, take no idols. As far as I can tell, the Christian cross, the Muslim Kaaba, these are all idols, hiding a truth about who we are. Sun worship, sun, S-O-N or S-U-N, it's all the same. It's like me worshipping my navel or my left nipple. It makes mockery of the whole. So some will celebrate the son, the daughter, the this or that. It's like you're being segmented into nipple worship. These are beautiful trees, don't you think? They've been around a long time, but not 300 years. 250 at the most, I'd say 200. I'm no tree surgeon like my pal Josh, but these are not that old. I've seen bigger trees elsewhere, but this is meant to be a central part of London. I believe that these were possibly mud flooded areas that were simply reclaimed, and trees were put in here in the 1800s. I was up here in an area called Wisbech recently, Cambridge, Lincolnshire, Norfolk area, and I came across a history book there. I put something on my community page about the arsenic in beer issue. And there, in this book, which was from 1801 to 1901, the same old images of a town that looks not dissimilar to the town today. The grander buildings are still there and celebrated. But the people, and there's not a lot of them around, but the people look very, very simple folk who have the ability to set up like a Saturday market stall type set thing, but they don't look like the people who had the capability to build such beautiful structures. They were the reclaimers. They were the ones who came back and started repopulating the free masonry, the free buildings that they came across. How did that all work out? Well, that's another point for debate. Let me just throw a little chalk down here. I think we've gone far enough. A little bit more. Yeah, so this is Hyde Park. There's a lake down there called the Serpentine. That body of water is level. Believers would tell me that eventually it'll bend, but of course that's nonsense. Ooh, nice colour, eh? That's a lovely colour. Earth is flat, not a spinning ball. Did you know that? Water is level. Earth is 70% water. Water is always going to find level. So let's keep moving. By the way, this is something you see every now and again. the Diana Princess Walk Memorial. The Princess of Wales used to walk this way. I was heartbroken when she died. If she died, but at the time I certainly believed it. And I was one of the people who joined in the morning at that time. As I was working in Victoria Street, as I said at the beginning of the stream, it was only a short walk over to Buckingham Palace, where there was a sea of flowers. If you were in the floral business, it was like winning the jackpot. There may have been some people in the know who went and bought themselves a little flower farm a month or two before that event. But that's me being conspiratorial. Some say she wasn't. She was David Furnish. You know, I don't know about that. I know that water is level. Even these, I think they're Egyptian geese. I think they would tell you they know that. They get the altitude, and they can see vast distances from on up high. So, how's my chat looking? That's 25 here, that's very nice. Hey, Squirrel Sniper, you're driving but listening, good. Nice to see you there, Nathan. We're in London now, and we're just on the move at the moment. We don't have a digs. So my sister-in-law is kindly putting us up for a few nights. She's been extremely good to us over the 4 years since we first hit the road. And I said to Harry MacDonald, John Smith Globe Live, I said to him last night, it's been 4 years since we came to your place in Scotland. He said, no, it's been 3 years. No, mate, I've been counting the days, pretty much. And my little boy was 2.5 years old when we took him out of Good Heart Way. We spent our first night near Birmingham with a staunch flat earther who kindly put us up, and then our next few nights we spent up in Scotland with Harry, and then we spent a month, maybe 3 or 4 weeks on an small organic farm. It's small holding, it's not a farm. And in that time, had a few conversations with Jason of the Disbury family, in which he said, look, perhaps you'd like to jump on the Globe Light tour. We had spoken about it 2 weeks before we became homeless. We were at the Kidderminster Flat Earth tour that Robin had organized, and lift in the lid, Robin. And there, you know, we'd sort of floated the idea, but I think with certain people involved, I won't name any names, Roxanne, I don't think that I was necessarily on the card that year, even though the year before, 2018, I'd been a bit of a standout operative in the field, most famously with the Rocks Don't Float barrage of Oxford, and a few other key dates that I joined in that tour. In fact, the tour, just as a little side note, in 2018, the tour was completely conducted from a camper van, every night on the camper van bar one. And that one night was at our home at Good Heart Way, where Andrea kindly fed the whole crew. And we gave Jason and Harry, and might be someone else, I can't remember now, we gave them a place to stay. So that was a good moment for us doing the activism. You know, 2018 had been my first year of proper street activism, and so it grew from there, you know. But 2018 was also the year that the orifices of the police had barged their way into my place trumped up some charges and kept my little boy and my wife and my niece cooped up in a room for hours while they ransacked our house. I told them off in no uncertain terms. Maybe one day the video of me in the charge office lambasting, I was about to swear, lambasting the sergeant behind the desk. I do not respect your clown suit. And I told him, you'll find nothing on me. The charges you've lodged, you'll find nothing on me, which is why they did me for obstructing the interview. I was trying to stop them from getting in the house. Well, when I say obstructing the interview, I mean obstructing them invading my home like criminals for no good charge. No charge against anyone, no action against anyone, nobody had been caused any harm. But for whatever reason, unknown, they decided to turn me over. And that was a bit of a turning point. 16th of October, 2018. And then just after that, a few weeks after that, we came here to Speaker's Corner, and I did that piece for the Guardian paper that later went on to get 2.5 million views, but I think they were seeking to ridicule the flat earth. Let's be honest on that. A little bit of chalk here before we arrive at the noisy boys over there. There's an American dude there. He's a full fat indoctrinated believer in demonology. Shout out to Bro Sanchez, who used that term the other day, and it's harsh, but I think it might be true. Let's go with a little research flat earth. Deceive. Okay, we're gonna go and put the banners up. I'm going to put the banners up. Those of you here, if you will hang tight, talk amongst yourselves. Highly unlikely. Raising street level is easier than digging. Yeah, you have to allow for installation of sewer system. I think that explains some of it. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, the sewer system. But there's tunnels and pipes and things underground that, it doesn't. It's hard to explain that away. I won't go into that right now. Hey, Tony Whitcomb, how you doing, man? Thanks for your support. Leave My Rights Alone is near Wiz Beach. Yeah, that's a very flat part of the world, isn't it? Very flat. I've seen them say, look at the sea and its curvature. Yeah, and they'll say it's curving ahead of them as you look away at the ship, but not sideways. Look to the right, you don't see that. Stacey Blee, when she had an 8.5-hour flight to the UK, I saw absolutely no curvature. Well, we know pilots will say the same, and I've flown many times, 11 hours, quarter of the way around the globe, as they call it, and there's no allowance for any of that. Hey Leighton, nice to see you again, man. James Watson, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate that. Mark Swarbrick, I remember that very well, Dave. Them plants would have won first prize at the Chelsea Flower Show. You, thanks so much for that. Cheers, Mark. I have to say they were amazing. I had some beautiful plants, and actually my niece managed to catch just 5 seconds. She was allowed to go to the toilet, and she filmed 5-second clip of them ripping them out of the pot plants, because not only did they cut the plants, but they wanted to destroy the root balls as well, which seemed a pointless thing. I know I couldn't have grown from those root balls, but anyway, I'd wired them all down. Because I'd spread them, and it made me cry, actually. It made me cry seeing that. That was the first time I cried that day. Oh, reform. Yeah. Politics.
We have to rebuild trust in the British state.
We're in public and you're trying to make it private.
The trust of our current day politicians is as low as it's ever been.
Unless they're all taking
Stop voting for the same, and you will get something new, and you will get something different. Do you want to know some reform policies? Like that help? Do you want to hear some policies?
What is reform? Please define.
It's a registered political party in
No,
that is currently getting between 6 and 10% in the national poll. They are beating the Greens in poll after poll after poll. But does the media give them the same attention that they give the Green Party? They've even drawn with the Lib Dems in some national polls. They are getting
tied up in legal.
Labour and Conservative need to worry about it. And we're not right-wing, we're not left-wing, we have a mix of common sense politics. Common sense politics. For example, the fact that you could be on £15,000 salary and currently paying tax is a nonsense. So reform will raise the minimum tax threshold to 20,000, which will remove up to 6 million people from tax.
That's what I
If you're on 15,000, 18,000,
I'm with you.
you shouldn't be losing money in your pocket to taxation. We will also be raising the corporate taxation for small businesses. So again, you've got a small business that might be a window cleaning business, a bricklaying business, whatever it is. If you're paying, paying corporation tax on a turnover of 50,000, again, that's nonsense. We need common sense policy.
Yes. I think that the reform, I'm not like against reform, but I do feel like it's a bit like the South African own party, really good ideas, but still within the framework of the system. So it's still like a protestation. Oh no, I've stumbled over Professor Dave again. Oh, Professor Dave, there's Dave McKeegan. Look at these guys just hanging out here like a bunch of turds. So let's set up the banners, shall we? I was keen to, what's his name? I forget his name now, just off the top of my head. It's slipped my mind, the guy who's talking for reform. Because he heckles and heckles me and has done since day one here and back in 2018. So I'm going to set up some banners. Will you guys yeah, it's good quality? Okay, nice. Thank you. Lava Rocks. Oxbow, yeah. I'm gonna set this up, get the banners going. I just want to be away from that kind of noisy over there. I have got the mic, as I said at the start of the stream, I have got the mic facing towards me, which will mean you don't catch what everybody is saying, but hopefully you can hear me better. I'm going to He's trying to make out like they're trying to hook up.
If I was mental, no wonder why you like to be here.
So yeah, I'm just gonna put the banners up here. I'll do some chalk down here. But I prefer to be set up here on this corner, just because it's between here and here, because I'm not in a shouting match with the dogmatists. Because that's the problem with reform. I think that MP who bravely has asked for questions on the sort of unusual death rates and stuff. That MP has, I think he's joined the Reform Party. He was kicked out of the Conservative Party because he was asking questions that we're not supposed to ask. And I obviously lost my YouTube, the bigger one, because of asking questions or saying things that you're not allowed to say in this free society. But putting another political party into the same parliament is really just having a third way within the same two-party system. And as I said earlier on, I think it's meant to. I think it's meant to implode, and what will come will be a control, another form of control. I have to say that guy's super annoying. We have spoken before, him and I actually, but he's as annoying as a rash in the crotch. Cheers, Nathan. I appreciate you saying that. You and Penny are well, I hope. Anyway, let's get some banners going, so I can do my thing. And knowing that the earth is flat is really just the gateway, isn't it? It's not going to answer all the questions. It's not going to get rid of the political system. It's not. And even if everybody knew that, it'd be like, so what? You still got to go to work tomorrow. We still got to pay taxes tomorrow. Yes, because the way the system is set up is an energy harvesting system. So I know I offend some people. I've lost good friends and subscribers over the Jesus thing. I don't say that Jesus didn't exist and wasn't a good man, but to make him the savior over you being your savior is, I think, part of the trick. And we will. And then the same with the vegan thing. I have to say, I become increasingly outspoken on that, as you can choose to do whatever you like. However, I think that the vegan agenda is one of getting us to eat insects, bugs and grass rather than proper food. So that's that. This is where people think they live. Oh, that way. Today it's that way. And there we are in England, as you can see, right on the top, of course, so you don't fall off when you're on the top. But those poor folks on the side, well, they believe they're on the top as well. All right, here we go.
Where I ask people 3 riddles. Three riddles. And if they get it correctly, they win £10. Do you want to participate?
Well, you can ask me the 3 riddles, so I'm not interested in the £10.
Alright, would you play?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, see.
What are you recording for?
It's for one of my TikToks.
Okay.
Pretty sure you participate. Not everyone does.
That's cool, bro. I'll do it if you answer 3 questions for me when you're done.
Yeah, sure.
On your TikTok.
On my TikTok.
Yeah. I was on it. That's the deal. And but they won't be rude. They won't be insulting at all. But I'm just going to carry on doing it because I'm sitting on live stream at the moment. So my camera's running at the moment. I'm Trinity 4 on YouTube. Trinity 4. Yeah, I used to have a bigger channel, but I lost my channel due to censorship. Because I talked about needles in arms to the Africans. I was in South Africa for a year saying no needles. And they took my channel away.
End the video and start over now, because I don't think it's connected.
And this guy's asked me if I'll do something for his TikTok, just 3 questions. So I'm gonna go for it while we continue to put up the banners. I decided I'm going to put these up this side today. You've seen these guys, eh? And I got my son to make me another banner, but I actually haven't gotten around to taking the steps of having it printed. All right, you go ahead when you're ready, man.
We're good to go. We're good to go.
Good to go. All right, bro. What's your name?
My name is Ibrahim. What's your name?
Ibrahim. I'm Dave.
Nice to meet you, Dave.
Likewise, man.
Anyways, the riddles will get progressively harder. They start off easy, but
I had 3 Iraqi refugees live with me in 1993 in South Africa. I gave them a home because they'd fled from Saddam Hussein. One of them was called Ibrahim. Fala and Fadil were the other 2 guys' names. Muslims.
that's awesome.
1993.
Okay.
But again, I also fought in a war in a country called Angola in 1987 because my country, that I believed the government, and they told us that we had a threat coming from communism and that we should go to war. And so I had to do 2 years army then, and I ended up in these big tank battles. I was just talking about it this morning actually, so it's on my mind. Big tank battles. I wrote a book about it called Battle on the Lomba, 1987. Legit. The biggest tank battles in Africa since World War II.
What's your name?
My name is David Mantle.
Nice.
Trinity 4 on YouTube.
Trinity 4 on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you ready for these riddles?
Go for it, Ibrahim.
I have keys, but can't open locks.
Yes.
What am I?
I have keys, but I can't open locks. I'm a harbour.
I'll give you 3 attempts. That's
A harbour has keys. Yes.
explain.
Have you ever been on a boat on a harbour? The harbour's the walls of the harbour where the boat pull up is called a quay. Quay.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Alright.
Okay, we'll go to the second one. The more you take,
Yeah.
the more you leave behind.
Oh.
What am I?
The more you take, the more you leave behind. I give up.
Now you get to ask him a question.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions, when he's done.
I'll give you a
I'll
hint.
pass on that. Yeah, go
I'll
on.
give you a hint.
Yeah.
It's to do with walking.
Um,
I'll read it out again. The more you take, the more you leave
Steps.
behind.
you leave, you leave miles behind.
Yeah, okay. All right, the last one. Okay?
Yeah,
If you get this right,
yeah.
you win your £10.
All right.
All right? I have cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and rivers but no water. What am I?
Cities, a body,
You got 2 more tries.
rivers but no water.
I can read it out again.
Yeah,
I have cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and rivers but no water. What am I?
trees with no forest. Did you say trees with no forest?
Yeah. Forest but no trees.
Forest with no trees. Okay. Man,
It's a hard one.
it is a hard one.
It's a hard
Yeah. I'm gonna say heaven.
That's not the correct answer.
Ah, What is the
One more
correct
try.
answer? Okay. No, I'll give up. What's the right answer?
Okay, it's a map.
A map. All right, I like it.
A map has cities.
Okay.
It has forests.
All right.
It has rooftop.
All
Those
right.
things
All right.
are not actually.
All right. All right. Now it's my turn.
Yeah,
I'm happy not to take the £10, but I'd love to ask you these 3 questions, Ibrahim.
of course.
What is the circumference of the Earth?
Without God's grace, without God's
I don't actually know. I think is it about 300 miles? 300,000 miles?
300,000 miles. No, it's 24,901.
24,900. 24,900.
Yeah, or 40,000. Yeah, 40,000 kilometers there or thereabouts. Yeah. How fast is the Earth spinning?
I'm annoyed I don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
How fast is the Earth spinning?
Yeah.
Is it about 30 miles per hour?
That's a good answer, but I'll give you a clue. The clue is that you know now how far it is around, 24,900 miles, and we know that it spins around once a day. So can you give me the answer now?
24 miles per hour?
1,000 miles an hour. Earth is spinning, according to the science that we're taught when we're 6 years old, at over 1,000 miles an hour, which is faster than the speed of sound.
How's that? Okay.
Yeah, and yet you can't feel it. No, you can't feel it. Okay? So my last question to you is, how far is it to the moon?
Is it 30,000 miles?
According to the science, 240,000 miles. All right, so most people don't know, so if I can say that most people don't really know the science that we're taught in school and how it relates to the reality that we live in. And when you start to kind of consider these things, and that, for example, water, when in your bath or in a lake or in a swimming pool, is level. We know that water will always find its level. We can build using water as a leveling tool. Yeah. But we're told that eventually ships are going to go over the horizon because water is curving. But in reality, we can't measure any curvature to the water, and we can't measure any spin of the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour or any miles an hour for that matter. It seems to us that the Earth is not moving at all, and that the water is level in your bath, across the Suez Canal, across the biggest lakes on Earth that we can measure. So we say to people that this idea that we live on a spinning space ball in a vacuum of space is all made up pseudoscience designed to mislead mankind to believe that there's something less than that we really are. Because we are really the creation of God. We are the creation of whatever Allah is. We are that creation. And we have had that truth hidden from us in order to subjugate us. In order to subjugate us as men, in order to subjugate us as souls. Because your higher soul is here on a journey, but that journey is owned by the person who gives you that kind of information that makes you believe that you come from the Big Bang, that you are insignificant, and that you live on a ball that's spinning through a vacuum. When in fact, if I created a vacuum and I put a space next to it, like air next to it, the air would want to rush into that vacuum, which is why if we create a vacuum chamber, it has to be a very solid, thick barrier to prevent the air from crushing it. So the truth is, guys, that we do not know where we live, and we really need to do our own research. Don't believe what you see on the first few searches for flat Earth on YouTube. But the truth is that this idea that we are on a spinning globe is easy to debunk. Exactly what it is, that's another body of research altogether. But if we think that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and no one can point to the direction of the spin that we're spinning, that water is curving and yet we cannot prove water to be curving, we do have to go again and research truthfully who we are.
So why would science lie about the shape of the Earth?
To control us. But remember, science is not a thing. Science is just a subject, yeah? Science is not a person. Science is a body of research that can be misled, particularly when that research is based on a lot of theory. You see, because gravity is a theory. Relativity, this idea that we can stand on a ball or stand in Africa on the side of a ball and think that we're standing on top of something. These are theories. The idea that we come from monkeys, that we evolved from monkeys, is just a theory. That a big bang, an explosion can happen in a scrapyard and a Ferrari can drive out the other side. We know that would be ridiculous to assume that, that would be the case.
So hypothetically, say we all know that the Earth isn't round.
Yeah.
How does that change our lives?
That's a great question, Ibrahim. Well, it begins with you. It begins with realizing that, wow, if someone has gone to this length and trouble to create an entire body of science and mathematics to substantiate a lie, it means that there's a big reason why they don't want you to know that. And that means that you are far more important. So it starts with us individually. It doesn't change the world tomorrow. People will still have to pay taxes. They will still have to read maps. The world will still be pretty much as it is until eventually people work it out and go, okay, wow, we are something special. We need to realign ourselves around that truth rather than this enmity of my religion versus your religion. I don't have a religion, just by the way. I think that we are all one under God. There is no need for division and separation. So it's really a journey within. It's like a labyrinth to understanding yourself, going back to the heart of you, because at the heart of you is love, and at the heart of our Creator is love. In this world of separation, we're so outside of ourselves that we're using all sorts of things, from alcohol to porn to materialism, shopping or whatever, to define ourselves, rather than realizing that, wow, I'm the emanation of love. And if I can emanate in that way, I can be the light in a dark room. Each of us can be a light in a dark room, and so we will light up our neighborhood. We will light up the families and those around us and our life. And it may mean, personally, it may mean that you choose to do a work or a thing for your life that isn't supporting the beast that is trying to control us.
So what would happen if everyone got out of control?
People are out of control, Ibrahim. People are out of control. The world is out of control. We're in war everywhere. There's people at war. There's people in poverty. There's people in such hardship. There's people in such greed that they will sit on millions or billions of piles of cash, and whilst their brother next to them starves. So we will... I lost your question there. They're whistling.
Is control about maintaining peace, or is control about causing more pain and suffering?
Well, control is only necessary when people have lost control. So if you can control yourself, then I don't need anyone to control you. You can control yourself. If you don't go around harming your brother, love your neighbor and all that, then there's no need for me to have a big army to come and protect you. But if you are going to come to my neighborhood and make war with my neighbor, then naturally I'm going to set up an army to defend my neighborhood. That's what we do. So but the problem is like I say to people, if you put 10 puppies in a cage and you starve those puppies, give them 3 puppies worth of food every day, you're going to turn those puppies into animals that are vicious. Some of them will be like broken, and they'll be timid and frightened and staying in the corner, and others will be biting at each other. And when you let them out of the cage, just like if you let mankind out of the prison, a little bit like in Shawshank Redemption, if you let everybody out of the Shawshank prison today, there will be mayhem in the streets. But if, like the lead character there, you learn about yourself, then you can go out, and you do not need imprisoning, and you do not need policing. You do not need thousands of cameras watching everything that you do, monitoring everything that you do.
I have one more question. What's the most memorable moment of your life?
Taking DMT in 2015.
How did that go?
It was like an interview with God. Yeah. It was like a near-death experience. It lasted 7 minutes. Dimethyltryptamine is known as the spirit molecule, and it's otherwise known as ayahuasca. And I was 47 years old at the time in 2015, and it was the moment upon which my life turned, because then I saw something beyond who we are. Up until that point, I was an atheist. I didn't have any belief in anything higher. I thought we lived, we died, there was nothing more to life. From that moment on, I've known that we are eternal beings, and my body, your avatar here, is the essence of your higher self. It is the temple of that higher self, or of God. So that was probably the most significant moment of my life. Today, 4 years ago, I became homeless, and I've been homeless for 4 years. That was another significant moment. And in 2 days' time, on the 3rd of October in 1987, I was on the front line of the biggest tank battle in Africa since World War II, in which my squadron and the unit behind me ran over a brigade, which is 2,000 men, 3 squadrons of tanks, and we destroyed them militarily. I wrote a book about it. It's a historical matter of fact, Battle on the Lomba. And that was an important day. And then 5 days after that, Russian MiG planes bombed my squadron, killing one of my friends and ripping another guy's leg off. And I watched the bombs coming towards me, and I took shelter split second before the bombs landed. They were 500 kilogram bombs, and that was another significant moment. And I've had 3 children, so I would count that as significant moments in my life as well, Ibrahim.
I'm glad you can smile after that.
Yeah,
It's
man.
making me happy.
Yeah, man. No, well, at the end of the day, it's like I was brainwashed to believe a certain dogma. You know, we had to do 2 years army when I was a kid, by law. The law said you must go and do 2 years army to defend your country against communism. And then 5 years later, communism took over anyway in South Africa. So we live under some form of communism, totalitarian tyranny now. All of us, I don't think any of us is really outside of that. We may believe we are, but that's because we got our head in the sand. I think that the way forward is through love, you know, and not through hatred. I would shake hands, put my arm around, I already have done, fellow fighters from the other side of that battlefield on that day. And I think that the only way we get through this is love. But if I'm in war with you because I believe that you are my enemy, because somebody sent some bad guys around to my neighborhood and said they were your friends, it's called a false flag attack. Someone comes to my place and they send hoods around to my place and they beat it all up, and they say it was you, it was Abraham's crew that came around, so it makes you my enemy. Now I'm going to kind of ramp up against you, right? And that's really what we don't need in the world. There's more enmity.
Okay, so I have more questions. What do you think the meaning of life is? This is completely not even...
Okay. The meaning of life is to learn about know thyself. It's to know thyself.
Why do I need to know myself?
That's the mission. That is the mission. You see, the mission wants to just... Okay, so I see it like this, and so it sounds a bit esoteric perhaps, but that you have a higher self that deemed to come down in the form of Ibrahim in this incarnation at this time to learn more about yourself. Now, I think we may reincarnate. I think your higher self has the ability to come back in millions of times or in many different incarnations, perhaps at the same time, to learn about itself, to experience itself. So let's say you are, just hypothetically for a moment, that you were God, right? You were God and you are everything. You cannot experience yourself.
I'd have to... Yeah,
So Allah. So Allah is everything. Allah is everything. But Allah also stands for arm, leg, arm, head. You know, this is what we are. We are the temple of God. We are if you want to, in Islam, right? You say, if you want to find Allah, He's closer to you than the jugular vein in your neck. Cannot be closer to you. God or Allah cannot be closer to you. However, in this world, they give you football, they give you, computer games, they give you dog versus dog schooling, and go and work in the city and go and stand on your brother's neck, wear a suit and tie and go and work for the banks or whatever. And these are not about God. These are not natural. This is not about who you truly are. This is like you've come to Disneyland and you've got caught up in the game. And all you want to do is play with Mickey Mouse and go on the rides all day. And that's not what you are. You are much greater than that. And so whilst we believe that we are
that's
Disney.
Right?
Hedonistic, yes. Hedonistic, but hedonistic sounds a little bit critical. You know, I don't think that you know, at the end of the day, when there's cakes being laid down in front of you and they're really tasty, it's like, okay, well, you are going to enjoy some of those cakes, you know. But the thing is that you've got to learn that if you eat too much of the cake, it's gonna hurt you.
Okay. Hypothetically,
Yeah.
say I do learn myself.
Yeah.
I understand that the universe is very big and it's impossible to learn everything within the universe. And so me coming here into Earth, like how you said, to learn myself, isn't that like an impossible task?
Maybe it's impossible. Maybe it's an ongoing thing. Maybe it's like it's not like there is an end goal that, okay, I've got this amount of knowledge about myself and then that's it. I think we're always learning, we're always growing, and we may never in this incarnation need to or expect ourselves. It's not like, oh, well, if you don't learn yourself, you've failed the test. It's not that. But it is about learning who you are, knowing yourself, and then expressing that in a beautiful way. But if, like the puppies in the cage, you've been set upon when you were young, and starved when you were young, and treated bad when you were young, then isn't that journey of coming back to who you truly were right at the beginning? And what we come from is love. What we come from is this beautiful divine essence, and we're surely meant to get back to that divine, loving oneness with all that is here, natural, not unnatural, not man, not of man, but of Allah, of God.
Okay, so my personal belief is that we came into existence to worship God. We're here simply to worship God. That's what I believe in, right? And everything else that we do is just a side effect or something, a side quest that we do. So,
understand?
Yeah, that's
okay.
my belief.
All right, if I can just offer you, just in closing, then if I can offer you this as a counter, is to say that God or Allah is everything, which includes you. So to flip that backwards, to say that you are the expression of God. So to worship what you are already seems to me to be what all the religions try to do, is to get you to worship something out of yourself, when in fact you are already the fractal expression of Allah, of God. You are already that, but you don't know that. You are already, like in the puppy in the cage analogy, you are already a beautiful dog, but you've been hurt along the way, misled along the way, mistreated, misinformed, so you do not realize that you are the breath of God. You are, God spoke, as I say in Genesis, God spoke the world into existence. And the Word is God, the Word was with God, meaning that we are that vibration. God intended for you to exist. God created us for you to exist. You know, Allah created everything. And so therefore God, that created you. You know, like as your son, if you have a son one day, I hope you do. You seem like a lovely man. But if you have a son one day, that son will surely know that he is the expression of you. Now he would want you to honor him and respect him. But would you want him to get down on your knees every morning and say, "Oh, Daddy, I worship you, I worship"? No, he would not. He would say, like I have to my children, you know, go on and become the best version of yourself. You do not need to worship me. Let's respect one another.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. He shouldn't do that because I'm not deserving of that. You get it?
Yeah, but then if you are the fractal of God, then God needs honoring. And you see the way that we conduct ourselves in the world today, through these cities, through these corporations, dead entities. Corporation means corpse oration, the speaking dead. We work for and we celebrate Nike. We celebrate Manchester United. These are dead entities. And so while we continue to celebrate these things, we are not celebrating each other. We are not loving one another. And if I look around me, I see the expression of God misled. People who are all of us equal, but misled by corporations to believe that we are something. We are England, we are British, we are Islamic, we are Muslim, or whatever. You know, these are just labels that man has given himself rather than God. God did not give us labels. God, you know, is like, you are all my children. You're my creation.
And that's actually what Islam believes. Is that we don't actually have labels. The meaning of the word Muslim is a man who prostrates.
Yeah.
It's a verb. It's actually a verb.
Yes, I've heard that.
Prostrates.
Yes.
So, and who are we prostrating to? The only thing worthy of prostrating to. So everything else around us is not worthy of prostrating to.
Yeah.
Even the sun, the universe, it's not worthy of it.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yes, I agree. I agree with you. I think the sun is just like an element of the system. You can't worship the sun.
Yeah, you can't worship what's been created.
Yeah.
It goes against that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to wrap up this. It was a lovely talk.
Really?
But I'm going to have to
really?
wrap
No,
up
it's great, Abraham. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome.
Good luck.
Your name is David, correct?
You're David, yeah. Go well, brothers.
All right, sweet.
Cheers, man. Go well. Be well. Cheers. Hey, guys. That was a nice conversation. Yeah, a little warm up there. I've still got the parasite problem. It's causing my hair to fall out here, but I won't go on about that. Hey, Francois, my brother. Nice to see you, man. Francois Lagrange. I I thought I'd already made you a moderator. Yeah, and hey Adam, nice to see you, brother. You can also take one of those. Lovely to see you, Holistic Media. Please share this out if you can. You're not too late, Francois. You can go back and watch this again if you want to. That was a nice conversation, yeah. Smoking Truth TV, thank you very much. I appreciate that. NASA is Disney for adults, absolutely. Allah equals God. I have no need for it to be one name or another. For me, it's all the same, just different kind of derivatives of that. Unfortunately, we are seeing a bit more of this type of face nappy in society. I think that must be in the news. People are being frightened. Hi, Ryan. Nice to see you, bro. People are being frightened by the germ warfare. 1 second. I'm just going to put the camera down while I put up this last set of banners. Yeah, nice to see you, Francois. Those who don't know, Francois was the brother who really pulled my ass out of the fire in South Africa. As I was saying to Francois, I am applying to the dastardly authorities to let me back in the country. They blocked us for 5 years, or not me, but they blocked the little one.
I am black, I am full of melanin, and when I say that you like it, you like it, if you don't like it, go to the bathroom and flush your head. If you are a reader, man, what is this difference? Is the rubber band like an apple? No. You walk whenever you want, after you walk whenever you want, next week whenever you want, and you talk, hey, love you, if you are good. And then, no problem, you have to be a man to face it. And there's some problem, you have to be transformer. You have to drop your thing and bend down and see, I cannot see for all. You see the problem. You know it's
Got to tie these up because the wind's pushing them up a bit.
I never drink the milk from a beer. I know we got walk from the guy. We got walk from the milk. We got walk from the bloody.
Nearly there, guys. That's not much fun to be looking at the looking at the ground, sorry. One more. This needs to be a little tighter. I had a piece of string attached to the railing there. That was from the last time I was here, so that was a score. I just used that. You guys are watching all the ramping up of the east versus west bullshit that's going to take mankind into another conflict. That seems to me to be building up. Have a little drink. $33 in chat. I must be a Freemason. Okay, a little bit of chalk, I think, is needed. I smell someone smoking the herb. The herb of the Lord, as they say. Now I've got a few things here I need to sort out. Let me give them a flyer. There's a laughing. Take my flyer. Water's always going to find level. The mockers and the scoffers. So, oh, I'm down to 27% on the battery. Let me just see how long this is going to take to. What's up? Good herbs, yeah. Some good herbs. I mean, the thing about religion is, and that people don't really like to talk about, is that if I believe one thing, then I'm putting my head on a pillow at the end of the night believing that, then it means I truly believe that my other brother, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, I know obviously you could apply that to the flat earth conversation, but it's like, it's a separatist thing, you know, it creates separation and division. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. This is a little bit of DIY. Let me just check I got this in right way. Yeah, hopefully my battery's going to hold up. I ran myself down to 27%. Which one?
Flat.
How would you spell it? How do you spell flat? Have you ever seen water curve over its surface? Have you ever seen a body of water curve over its surface? Tiny bit, yeah, like a droplet, but a body of water. Yeah, like in your bath. You know when you're a little boy and you were lying in the bath and your knees were sticking above the water level? That's what the earth is like. No. What? It's contained, because water must be contained, like in a lake. Yeah. So when you contain water.
never, at least when you're on the ground, see curves.
Oh, okay, how massive is it? No, I'm asking you. If you believe it, you should know it. I know the diameter. If you don't know the diameter, you got a lot of work to do, son. Let me tell you, that water, when at rest, is always level, and the biggest lakes on earth are provably level. I'll save you the time. It's 24,901 miles in circumference. So you don't even know, you can't tell me how to spell flat. You don't even know the belief you're in. Water's always level, friend. Cheeky little kid. Hey guys, can you prove that water is doing anything other than getting level when it's at rest in a container? We can't make water into balls. A droplet of water is the only thing that you can point to that says water is round, but that's because it's under tension as it falls through the air. We've been brainwashed by NASA to believe that the earth is spinning, but you can't even point to me the direction we're spinning. And none of you know how fast it's spinning. Can anyone claim how fast it's spinning? You can bury your head in the sand if you must, but we've been lied to. We don't know where we are, and we don't even understand how earth works.
Why do you think they were Nazis?
South African. Why? To control us. Do you believe all these religions? All of them. So you don't believe all of them. So the Islamists are lying. Yeah. Why do they lie? All right.
I'm not here to attack. I'm here to defend.
Well, I mean, you're asking me the question, why would they lie? But you already go to bed at night realizing that a billion people on earth are being lied to. At least a billion people. Yeah, that's just to pick on them. And of course, there's only 2.5 billion or 2 billion Christians out of 8 billion. So about a quarter of the people on earth believe what you do, and the other 3/4 are being lied to or have been misled into atheism or another religion, yeah? So it's about control, really. It comes back to control, you know, and the Islamists will say the same. They'll say that you've been misled about who Jesus was to control you.
How would Islam say that? Islam says about Jesus.
They know, and they loved, peace be upon Jesus. We know that. But that the Vatican will teach them that Jesus was the Son of God, the only Son of God, not one prophet like Muhammad, peace be upon him. Right? So they are truthfully, the Christians are not understanding the full truth of what Jesus was saying according to Islam. Yeah?
So that means what you're just saying, you're proving him wrong, that he's following the wrong religion then. Christianity.
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying that there's no religion that we should be following.
You're saying no religion should be followed.
Yeah.
Why not? There's a religion is a way, it doesn't matter if it's
Yeah, but brother,
it's a way of a life.
Well, you can have a way of life without religion. There's plenty of people who live without books, who have a way of life. But the thing
The
thing is, you know this, brother. You know.
What is your purpose then?
You to find yourself, to know yourself, through a relationship with yourself and with the Creator, if you like. But absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't pick sides. You see, I don't pick sides. Whereas Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they're all picking sides. And let's be honest, brother, the majority of people who follow a religion were born into that religion.
Not necessarily.
No, you're lying to yourself. The majority of Muslims were born Muslim. The majority of Christians were born Christian. That's the fact. Or beaten into it. Yeah?
No.
People do not choose it. Have you heard of the Crusades?
Yeah, but no.
Have you heard of the answer my question? Have you heard of the Crusades? What happened in the Crusades? People were burnt if they didn't follow Christianity. Yes? Yes? People do not choose when you're going to burn my father or my mother, if I do not follow your religion, that's not choosing.
Do you know Ibrahim?
Ibrahim?
One of the prophets of Islam.
I've heard.
He was put in the fire to accept the different religions, but he did not.
Okay. Admirable. However, the majority, and you may not like to accept this, but the majority of Muslims today were born in a Muslim family. The majority of Christians were born in a Christian community or Christian family. That's the way it is. That's not choosing. That's just going with the flow. That's following the flock. Following the flock.
If you don't like a religion, you can then choose a different religion. If you don't like any religion, then you go atheist.
No. You do not. I was atheist, but I know there's a creator. I know we are created. I know we are all equal under Allah, under God. I don't have a need to choose a religion to know God. I do not need to, because
The way of life, you need. It's not like you have to choose a religion.
I agree with the way of life element of Islam. Don't get me wrong. But even in Christianity, there are good elements of Christianity. It's a good way of life. You know, what Jesus was saying was love your neighbor. Treat each other well. We are all the emanation of Allah. So there is no need, for, like you say in Islam, Allah is closer to you than the jugular vein in your neck. So when you're having a conversation with Allah, are you not talking in your own head with God? Yes. So can I not do that without attaching myself to one religion or another?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so because I can sit with Shamsi, yeah, I can sit with a Muslim. I have given home to Muslims from the Iraq War in 1993. I gave the home to Muslims, Muhammad and a few other guys, yeah, and I can break bread with them and we can sit together as brothers. But I do not have to take their religion. I can sit with a Christian and I can sit with a Jew, but I don't have to take. But I can still know God in the same way that you do, and I can still love you as my brother under God, under Allah, without needing to pick a team. Yes. So, and all I come out to say is that we are being misled by the world science community because most people are losing their way with religion and they are giving them a science to believe in. Now, I know a lot of Muslims say to me they do not believe in evolution. Now, evolution is believed by half of the people on earth, that we came from the monkeys and all of that sort of stuff. We did not. We were created perfectly when Allah spoke and brought us into this reality. That was God's expression. That was God's intention. Not to say, let me kick a grenade into a slime pit and then eventually in billions of years they will turn into monkeys and then men. No, we were made perfect as we are, yes. And I honor Allah and I honor God in creating us. But what I see in the world is division and separation. You know, so I, as I say, I can break bread with any man, but I do not need to say I can only do that under the aegis of a named religion. But I honor God and I honor our connection to God. And I think that mankind will continue to be divided while we continue to need to choose sides. And now what they've done is they've given us this idea that there are planets upon which there are more advanced life than us, which is again a degradation of Allah or God's intention, when we are the highest that exists, that was intended by God. Yes. But most people today, they can't wait for Elon Musk to land on Mars and to find life out there. And what all of that does is it takes us outside of ourselves rather than going within and realizing that the heart is in your own chest. And then the heart that Allah created with the message that is written on your heart is inside you. You do not need to find it with Elon Musk out on Mars. You see. So I think we're on the same page, brother. I do not need, though, to hold one religion above another or one man's beliefs above another, because I think that we are all equal, just that we have been sort of put into camps. And those camps typically are like football. If you're born in Manchester, you support Everton or Manchester United. You're born in Liverpool, you're born in Liverpool or Everton.
There's a surah in Quran that says, one of the last ayah is, Lakum dinukum waliyadin. That means you are happy in your religion and I'm happy.
Yeah. And we honor each other. Yes, but let me just be clear. I came through Christianity. That was how I was brought up in Christianity. And I read Genesis. And when I was a 13-year-old boy, I would say to my preacher, but the Genesis and the science don't match. What I'm being taught in science class doesn't match with Genesis. Genesis is God created the earth stable, the sun and the moon. I believe even from Shamsi told me this in Speaker's Corner, that the sun and the moon, they travel over us. We do not roll underneath this moon that is more important than us. But this is what science is different from Genesis. And I say that in Genesis it says that we were created 7 days, earth first, then the sun and the moon as lights and so on. I think that we were created, not that we had to wait for the Big Bang to happen and for billions of years.
We were created in one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Salam alaikum, brother. Hey, friend. So, here's my cheers. So, any questions for me on this? Yes. Well, because as I was just explaining to my Muslim brother there, that they have us looking outside and believing in something that is against God's intention. So God created the earth, as it says in Genesis, and then put us on it as masters of the earth. Science would have you believe that we had to wait billions of years for big bangs and dinosaurs to go away and for monkeys to turn into man, which is all a denigration of God. I know. Most preachers do. You know, as I was saying to him a minute ago, like when I was a kid, I'd say to my preacher, but the science I'm being taught at school doesn't equate to Genesis. If you read Genesis purely with a pure heart, you will know that it's not the same as this Big Bang. Genesis can be read almost literally, in my view, that there was a 7-day creation or 6-day creation story in which all of this was put together by God, and God spoke the vibration of us into this existence. So for me, and by the way, I was an atheist until I found this. You know, I was like, there's no God, we're going to find life on Mars. I believed all of that stuff. Now I know that the Earth is the heart. Earth is an anagram for heart. And we are the center. And we were put at the center in order to grow as an expression of the consciousness that we call God. I think there are lights. I see them, I observe them, I've looked at them under powerful cameras, and I find that they're actually vibrating a little bit like in cymatics. If you've studied cymatics, you'll see how at different frequencies you can get salt or sand to form in these beautiful geometric patterns. And those same geometric patterns are being played out in the stars. So the stars are actually a vibration in the system, and they're connected very much and closely to each of us in the same way as you have energy centers in your body. I believe that the universe has these energy centers that we call the wandering planets, or the Venus and Mars. Yeah. Round. Well, it's round like what we see is a round coin. You know, if you honestly observe the moon, it looks like under a powerful camera. Yeah, we see the same side, and we don't actually see that it's a ball. We see a coin. And if you shine a light onto a ball, you don't get this perfect circle. You know, you actually get a hot spot and then a sort of tailing off of the light as it goes around the edges of the ball. Yeah. So we don't actually. So we see a circle, and we see it small. We see it local. That's what we see, but we're told that it's 250,000 miles away. And I give people this example, if I may just finish. I give people this example is that if you go out on a moonlit, or like it's full moon now tonight, or last night before. If you go out and look at the moon at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tonight, it'll be cloudy, probably. And you look at the moon and you'll see that it's creating like a highlight in the clouds just around your house where you happen to be. You look at it and be like, well, it's super bright there, but 10 miles or 5 miles away, the clouds are not being illuminated at all. Now, if your friend is 5 miles away from you, ask him to go outside and have a look at the moon, and they'll say, oh, it's actually bright by my house and dark where you live. So what is the moon? Is it, if it was a single light that was illuminating the entire blanketed cloud between your friend and my house, or your house and your friend's house, then you would see it was light and white the whole way across. But actually, I think we have a personal relationship with the sun and the moon. They're actually illuminating the area around you. So it's not a singular object. What the moon is something far more magnificent and something we don't fully understand. But I don't hang my hat on, there's a NASA fan, I don't hang my hat on exactly what the moon is. I just say for sure that man's never landed on the moon. Man has never left God's creation. In fact, I believe it's an aberration, or it's an insult to God to say that we have left the firmament that God spoke about. He separated the waters from the waters, put a firmament. I believe that firmament is still intact. And we are mankind tried to break it in the 1950s with the Operation Fishbowl, where they were shooting nukes up into the roof for 4 years, the Russians and the Americans, and they were trying to crack it, I believe. but I don't think we've ever been more than 60 miles to the Kármán line, anything outside of that place. So I think we're sort of in here, trapped if you like, but we're in here on purpose. And this idea that we can insult God and say, no, we don't care about your roof, we're going to go out, never can do. Now, we went to the moon 50, 60 years ago, never been back with a man. They put 12 12 Apollo astronauts. It's all an insult on God, by the way. They put 12 Apollo astronauts on the moon, and the man has never been back. They tell us that they've lost the technology to go back. And they tell us that there's these Van Allen radiation belts that are so dangerous. Now, modern scientists will tell you this, astrophysicists. Oh, there's these Van Allen radiation belts. They're very dangerous, and we can't get out there. Well, how did we get out there in the 50s with even poorer technology than we have now in the 60s? So, in fact, there were top scientists in the world saying back in the 1950s, they'll never land on the moon. The moon is plasma. It's a light. We cannot land on a light. But, of course, they were silenced once people saw grainy black and white footage on their TV of man landing on the moon. Now, Neil Armstrong himself said we've never been. 2 Russian astronauts have claimed on video that we've never been, that it's all been a scam. But people won't want to take that from them because it's like someone saying vaccines are harmful. you won't take it from them. Hey, brother, how are you? Cool. You're welcome. And I am a total knower that we are the expression of God. I don't have any doubt in my heart or mind that we are the expression of God, and I honor God in that way. But I think that what we've been given is a lot of deception to mislead the flock. And in Matthew 24, it'll tell you that at the end of times, even amongst the elect, the majority are to be deceived, even amongst the elect. And I think that's what we see today, is that good people, good preachers, good men and women are severely deceived, which is why for the last 5 years I've chosen to take my free time to come out and get abused by people who say that's ridiculous. But water's level, bro. Water will always find level. And we've measured it with lasers, we've measured it with line of sight, we measured it with long-range photography. A guy recently went up into Wales and took a photograph of the Alps, 700 miles away, 1,000 kilometers. He could just see the peaks of 8 or so, and he could measure them off on Google Maps. So we can see far too far to say that the Earth is a globe. And this idea that we're sort of spinning and we're on the outside of it is all theoretical. It's all based on theology or theory, that gravity, relativity, all of these sorts of things are all you need to believe in the globe. When in fact, if we built a mini town like they had in Durban, a mini town, you would do it all on a flat. You would do it all on flat. If I said, no, I want you to do it sort of on the side of a ball, you'd laugh at me and say, that's impossible. Water will always run off a ball. Oh, but if the ball was big enough, it would start to make rivers run up the side of it. So when you study quantum physics, well, firstly on the moon is meant to be attracting all the bodies of water on Earth. Turns out that the tides have got almost nothing to do with the moon, because the biggest lakes on Earth have got no tides. The Scandinavian fjords have got no tides. The Mediterranean Sea has no tide. So why aren't these bodies of water being attracted by that? And then when you study quantum physics, you'll realize that they laugh at gravity because they say it's nowhere near. It's orders of magnitude, 1 to the power of 24 zeros smaller than the electromagnetic force. So we are in some sort of electromagnetic system. So I go, and once I get deeper into the conversation, I start to talk about how this is all toroidal, that we live in we are toruses like a big apple. We are in a toroidal system within an electromagnetic torus. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to be able to convince you today, bro. You're South African. So when you fly from South Africa, right, you're flying a quarter of the way around the globe, and in 11 hours. And in that time, your body doesn't realize that it's changed its perpendicular from here to here. And the gyroscope still doesn't pick that up. But if I took a gyroscope and spun it like this, it would tell me what my original flat line was, right? So let me just give you this on the gravity and the moon joke. That is that the smallest tides, some of the smallest tides on Earth are at the equator. Some of the largest tides are up here in England. You got 20-foot tides here in England. The tide's nothing like Durban. I grew up in Durban, bro. And the tide in Durban is there, but I've been driving around England for the last few years, and what do I see? I see tides that you can walk out like a mile. The tide has gone out so far. Now I know that has something to do with shelves. Yeah, no, the tide itself, yeah, you get bigger waves, yeah. But that's all to do with a whole lot of other forces and so on. But how is the tide here in England when we're sort of at 55 degrees, so all the way up on the side of the globe, how is the tide so massive, whereas at the equator, where it's sort of closest in theory to the moon, why are they not huge as well? So no, tides, there's some other explanation to the tides, but what we're taught when we're 7 years old is that the tides are caused by the moon. But when you start to go and look at this and look at where tidal flows are and where they're greatest and smallest, you go, no, that doesn't quite add up. And as I say, I mean, the Mediterranean Sea is huge. And to say that there's no tide there on a sea like that, no, not according to the model of gravity from the moon and all that sort of stuff. Pinetown. Oh, okay. Well, I was on the bluff just a year ago in 2021. I was quarantine busting, and I was going around there, talking to the Africans there, because they are closer to God than most of us Europeans. And I was telling them to avoid, don't trust the science. Everyone was trusting the science and putting needles in their arms and whatnot. Don't trust the science, bro. So yeah, I'm probably rough and tough and from the bluff. I went and stayed right on the bluff there at a guest house for a little while. Right, it's beautiful there. And then oh man. My wife would remember, but I can't tell you the name right now. Sorry? Anstey's. Yeah, I was on Anstey's. It was just on Anstey's. We could walk down pretty much onto Anstey's. Okay. But anyway, nice to talk to you, but God bless you, man. I've got a flyer you can take away. I don't have any in my hand now, but we'll talk again. How are you, man? Yeah. Good. Well, that's what I'm here to do, is help people understand the flat earth theory. I mean, obviously there's the globe belief, but flat earth theory simply says that the water of our earth, which is 70%, 72%, something like that, is level. It has tides and it has pressure systems that cause waves and whatnot, but ultimately from America to England is a one level body of water. It's flat. Obviously it goes up and down, and there's a few inches of tide. Yeah. And then if you go and look at the seabeds, and you only need to look at undersea cables that they run for the internet business, and go and look at images of earthquakes undersea and stuff like that. Any of those drawings I show you, the seabed is flat. There might be mid-Atlantic rinches and stuff like that, or there might be some valleys, the San Andreas Fault and blah blah blah. But actually, ultimately, it's flat. Yes. A flat map. And the shipping mats were all flat. I mean, we don't believe the story that Christopher Columbus discovered America. America was discovered or was populated by advanced civilization long before Columbus got there. Yeah, and so these people were sailing on a flat earth long before they came up with the globe. In fact, the very oldest globe is 500 years old. And if there's one globe in the world 500 years ago, you can bet most people didn't know about it. It would have taken 100 or 200 years for people to even hear that there was this idea that there was a globe. So the idea of a globe being 2,000 years old, and scientists prove it. Aristophanes, who's credited with a lot of this stuff, there's less proof that there's less proof he existed than Jesus. Heliocentrism simply means going around Helios. Yeah, No, sun. The sun is Helios, and we're going around the sun. So it's sun worship, because in this model of heliocentrism, we need the sun. The sun comes first in this model, and it is superior to the earth. When in fact, what God created was earth is superior to the sun, and the sun comes later to give you light the day. So that's heliocentrism. And hell, the word hell is hidden in there as well. They're creating a hell out of this heliocentrism or sun worship, which is what most atheists are, is they're worshipping the sun. And we believe that when the sun goes bang, we're going to die, which is, of course, not true. The earth, it was... I don't know about that. I have some theories about that. Our physical remains, but your higher self is meant to be on a journey up towards heaven, maybe. Yeah, ascending 7 levels back to God, as it were. And it may be that we take these lifetimes to learn this stuff about that. Let me talk to these guys a moment. This guy's been standing here a while. Hey, squirrel. Logical. The sun isn't 93 million miles away. These guys are busy with their conversation. I don't want to interrupt too much. Well, there's another one of those. It has to be, because the globe comes from the Big Bang, and the Big Bang is random nothingness. All of a sudden something, and that, of course, that's against one. There is a design. So flat Earth is just the gateway. To try and understand the nature of the Earth is that it's actually not a pizza floating in space. It's an electromagnetic torus, and in the center of the torus is a plane. Yeah, like what they call a plane of inertia. Because I think that there's some kind of container. You see, thermodynamics demands containment. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
All right, bro. Have a good day. Thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is basically there's three key laws of thermodynamics, and the second law of thermodynamics says that if you want to build up pressure, you have to contain it, like your deodorant can, the fizzy pop. It has to stay in a container. Yeah, bad for you, but I just use that as an example of how until you break it open, all of that gas is going to stay in there. Once you pop it, it's a container. It's like a terrarium. And the terrarium... Correct. It would go into a vacuum. In fact, if you created a vacuum and then broke that vacuum, air would rush into that vacuum. So if we got a vacuum above us, the air should immediately rush. Within seconds, this place would be devoid of all atmosphere. It would be gone, lost forever. We would die instantly if there was no roof, no firmament, as they call it. We would be gone. You break the firmament, it's like cracking the deodorant can. If you puncture the deodorant can, there's no more pressure. You can press the top of that all you like. There's no more pressure there. Nothing's going to come out the top. I think we'd be able to measure the movement, if not feel it. It would be. Yeah, correct. Yes, just the fact that, people say, oh, the whole atmosphere is moving with us. Well, in order to move the atmosphere, you have to be inside of an aeroplane. So the atmosphere inside of an aeroplane or the train will move with you, but that's because it's in a sealed container. But if you break that seal, I was once on a plane when I was 10 years old, and we got to cruising altitude and they had to land the plane again because one of the doors hadn't been closed properly. Like, oh, we got to get back to the ground again and then start again because we're not properly sealed. If you're not properly sealed, you die. I see you like penguins. Have you heard of the Antarctic Treaty? Antarctic Treaty was signed in 1957 by all the developed nations, and it's the only treaty that's never been broken. Russia, America, all of these countries. It stops mankind, you and me, from traveling beyond the 60th south latitude. Now, commercial flights can go to about 70th south parallel, but anything else has to be on a government-approved tour. And if you go, this is to go to Antarctica, and if you go in, you'll go into a peninsula. They'll show you around a few tens of square miles maybe, and they'll bring you back out again. So the Antarctic Treaty is, they say, oh, it's to protect the penguins. Now, Shell, BP, Conoco, all these fuel companies, they do not care about penguins. What they care about is profit. Now in America, are you American? An American explorer or military guy by the name of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, very famous. He got 3 ticker tape parades through New York in his lifetime. And he was given 15 or 20 years to explore the North Pole and the South Pole. And when he came back from the South Pole, he said, I have found land. He had an armada of ships, 5,000 men, an aircraft carrier, and all of that. And he came back and he's on a Longines TV show, which was a very top TV show back in the 1950s. And he says, I found land that no man has ever seen, larger than the continental United States of America. And on that land is resources that would last mankind for generations. The next year, they signed the Antarctic Treaty, and we've never been allowed back in to explore it. So you've got to start asking questions about, well, why are we not? Because we're given stories about that, and we can sail around the world and all of these sorts of things. But why are we not allowed to go over there? Why have we never chartered a plane to go in at one end and come out at the other side, 180 degrees at the other side. You know, fly down to bottom of South America and then fly through the pole and come out to Australia. Never done. Never been done. Well, there's a story that goes on a flat Earth. There are other continents that are beyond what we call Antarctica. And I think that's an interesting one, but of course I can't prove that.
So it's legal for me and you to...
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how is it
Absolutely. Yeah, the military, the navies of Australia, South Africa, America. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's why they keep the Falklands. That's why the Falklands War. Hi.
What do you think about chemtrails?
I think they're possibly harmful. Possibly harmful.
Do you believe in them? Because I understand it relates to...
I observe them. I observe them. Do you observe chemtrails?
I don't know whether they are chemtrails.
I mean, I've been watching planes for all my life, you know, and I used to see contrails as a child, and I'd find them very fascinating. And up until about 10 years ago, I still thought they were just contrails. But now when I watch them over hours and see how some days those long trails just dissipate and turn into the cloud bank, I'm like, okay, that's not just steam, right? Because steam, we know from your kettle, will dissipate very quickly. So the contrail that dissipates within 30 seconds, a minute, okay, I can give you that. But if it stays there for hours and then it turns into a blanket, or I can watch over London, just a crisscross grid on some days of just all over the place. And I've been into other places of the world and I see the same thing, and people who study this stuff from different countries take photos and they look exactly the same. I'm like, yeah, that's not just steam, bro. There's something else to that. Exactly what it is, exactly how harmful, if it's harmful, is it blocking something? But I know geoengineering is admitted by a lot of governments now, so it's not even a secret. It's called an open thing, where they're saying we are starting to do things to, say, for climate change, you know? But of course, climate change is an unnecessary thing on a flat Earth, because this Earth is like a terrarium and it's self-cleaning. It can manage itself. We cannot break it, despite our best efforts. It's self-cleaning. Like I, so wherever I've traveled in the world on a spring morning or a crisp morning, the air is perfectly pure and has been for 50 years of my life. So it doesn't sort of matter how much, unless you're right next to a factory, it doesn't seem to matter how much dirt you dump into it. If you stop dumping that dirt, tomorrow the air is clear. Yeah. We don't know, because I was just explaining to this American couple a minute ago that there's the Antarctic Treaty. Well, no, there's the Antarctic Treaty. Now, people have tried to break through the Antarctic Treaty and they get turned around by military or naval ships. The Antarctic Treaty, if you don't know, has been in place for more than 60 years and it hasn't been breached by Russia, America, none of these countries. And they signed it the year after this very famous admiral, American, who'd spent 15 years exploring there, comes back and says, I've found land bigger than America that no man has ever seen before. It's still on video. You can still see them saying this on TV. And he said, I've found resources that will last mankind lifetimes. So why aren't the big companies, BP and Shell and so on, why aren't they in there mining that stuff that he was talking about? Because we don't care about penguins when we're after the bottom line dollar. So I think well, this is the beautiful thing about flat Earth, as I was saying, is that it actually can't be destroyed by us. We're too.
You look at the way the weather is changed. In England, it rarely gets snowing.
Okay. Well, let me offer you this. I was up in Wolverhampton, near Wolverhampton over Christmas this year, and I was in many inches of snow, which is probably the most snow in the 25 years that I've lived here. But climate change is a natural phenomenon. The climate changes naturally on Earth. We've had cold and hot. Well, I mean, you're a young lady. Let me tell you, I'm 55. When I was a kid, they told me that by the year 2020, a lot of our cities would be underwater, and that the sea levels were rising. Last year, I went back to South Africa and swam on exactly the same beaches I learned to swim on as a kid, and the sea level there is still the same. I'm not saying that tidal fluctuations and variations don't happen. I think that they do, and I think that there's a possibility that we get a rising of the waters. But that would be a natural thing, not a man-made thing. The man-made CO2, by the way, there's a lot of scientists who you won't hear on the BBC saying that the CO2 is brilliant for the trees. The trees thrive on CO2, and when they drink CO2, they give us oxygen in return. So, with respect, I'm not for deforestation. I think that we can damage our environment like that, but it's a little bit like this, that if we do damage it, it will probably starve us in some way, such that we leave it alone for a while and then come back and it'll have fixed itself, you know. I mean, South Africa is a good example where they have these forest fires every now and again, and the forest fire is actually the only way that the protea, which is the national flower of South Africa, can grow is because of that fire. So I'm not for ruining Earth, but at the same time, I'm not for penalizing you for living and enjoying your life. What climate change is doing is penalizing you and me for existing. The corporations, which are dead entities, not you and me living man and man, the corporations are profiting on that, yes, and they are raping and pillaging, yes. So that does need to be somewhat curtailed, but at the expense of your ability to travel, your ability to move freely in your lifetime. You'll see this in your lifetime. You're young enough to see this in your lifetime, where leaving London, you'll have to ask permission, just like you have to ask permission to leave the country. Do you know, like 100 years ago, there was no passport. People left the country if they wanted to leave the country. Now you have to ask and beg permission. I can't even go back to South Africa for 5 years because my 5-year-old son overstayed his visa. It's insane. I raised there, I did national service in that country, but they won't let me back in because my 5-year-old son stayed more than 90 days in the country. 5-year-old son, he's definitely not working and taking anyone's job from them. But we live under increasing tyranny, increasing control, and the only way that it works is because you believe it's necessary. The only way I went to war as a kid was because I believed communism was coming to run over my country. Yeah, I had to do it by law. You know, I had to do 2 years national service, and I just ended up in Angola. But I believed that communism was coming to take our country over. And so I went to war. And the reason why we went to war against Hitler was because we believed he was coming to take England. And the reason why you will stop traveling in your lifetime is because you believe that the gases being given off by the planes, trains, and automobiles are ruining the earth. When there's a story that goes that he, on 5 occasions, asked the British for a peace accord, and they didn't want that. Because, you know, what you got to realize, and I was a believer in all of these things, is that all wars are bankers' wars. And who pays for that? You and me. We pay through our taxes and through the lives of our young men. In fact, I'll go as far as to say that I believe that World War II and World War I were a genocide on the European people. Because certainly tens of millions of young men never got to have children. And those children never got to have children. And those children never got to have children. Because by now they would have been great-grandpappy from World War I, never came back from the front line. So I believe that the wars are being orchestrated to control mankind, to keep me against you, so that we are easy to control. And yes, you will pay. We are still paying for World War II today, right? Well, some of your taxes are paying for the loans that were made to who? The bankers who print money at the Xerox copier. So war is designed, and I'm afraid even the current one, World War III that we're in the early stages of, is being designed to keep us at each other's throats and to keep us paying for some war machine. But the bankers, by the way, George Bush's grandfather, Prescott Bush, was imprisoned for funding Hitler. Did you know that? Yeah. Let that sink in. The guy who goes on to be the president and his son is the president, his father was funding Adolf Hitler, banking for him. Yeah? And he wasn't the only one, but I pick him out because it's such a high profile thing. Yeah? Now, Adolf Hitler's airplanes, let me finish this one point more. Adolf Hitler's airplanes could not have flown without the support of Henry Ford. Did you know that? So these are the things that once you know that you go, shit, but why were we, if we're worried about Adolf Hitler, why weren't we starving him of that? Until it was so far too late that millions had died and a whole the Jewish people had all been displaced, and all a whole lot of horrible things had happened. So no, I think that the war is unfortunate. And I was in war. I've written a book about it. I think that wars are orchestrated by some higher hand who is looking to control us, either at the local level or at the international level, like with World War III that's coming. Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily, it's more Russia wanting to take, try to make it hard. But also it's so instinct. Yes, it is a war, and the West is supporting Ukraine, fighting back and everything. But let's say that the West said, okay, fine, we don't want war, Russia can take Ukraine. That leaves the Ukrainians as a control of they don't necessarily want to have that. And also what happens if China sees that and says, oh, the West didn't step in, so they then go and take Taiwan. What happens then when it starts, war is a complicated one.
It is complicated, yeah. And it depends very much on whose media we're receiving, yeah. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So I'm not taking a side for Putin or against Putin. But when I come back to England and everybody is anti-Putin, after 10, 15 years ago, Putin was like man of the man. He was the man. We were like celebrating.
He was seen as a freedom fighter.
Yeah. And Bin Laden, his family, he's one of 13 brothers, I think, 14 brothers, something like that. The Bin Laden family are good friends with the Bush family. Did you know that? And the only plane to leave America in the 3 days after that attack, the plane to leave was his family. It was the Bin Laden family, and to protect them because they were blah blah blah. But it's like, wow, these guys at the top table are all like in some sort of control game. And the only way that I'm going to get you to go to your neighbor's house and throw stones is for you to believe that he's been throwing stones at you. So I've got to come to you and convince you through false flag attacks or whatever that he is your enemy, and then you'll be willing to sacrifice something to go against him. Have you heard of this? Sorry, before you go, and I'll let you go. But have you heard of the Gulf of Tonkin affair? Okay, so the Gulf of Tonkin affair was later admitted by the American military to be an attack on itself to justify the Vietnam War. They attacked themselves. They dressed up like the PT, like the Viet Cong, got themselves into 2 PT boats and rammed an American ship. And with that, the American beast was stirred such that it went to war. There's another story that goes that the Pearl Harbor attack was allowed. They knew it was coming. They moved their most valuable assets out of Pearl Harbor and allowed the attack to happen. Why? Because it would justify what 9/11 did, was justify the attack in the Middle East. So this idea that your enemy is your enemy is only because the newspaper is owned by the people who control our minds. And so when we talk against Putin or for Zelensky or whatever, we're only doing that based on the information. I'm not saying there isn't a war going on. I'm not saying there aren't territorial disputes that are happening. And I'm not saying I support any of it. In fact, that's why I talk on Flat Earth, because if we realize how grand the deception is, because by the way, if it's not a globe, then all of these people, Russia, China, America, India, Japan, they've all claimed to have gone to the moon. Now I say that's impossible because the moon is a plasma. It cannot be landed on. And therefore that means they're all at the top table in the same hotel room discussing what to do next to control mankind. They are few, we are many. So if I can control your mind, I've got you divided.
I can agree with some of the mistrust toward the government. I don't, the UK and the US weren't in Iraq because they thought they were weapons. Things like that I can agree with.
That was a lie, wasn't it? Can you concede that was a lie? The four weapons of 45 minutes. Colin Powell, Tony Blair.
For example, if you tell me that, I know, if you tell me a white lie, something like, oh, you didn't have a certain thing for breakfast, I would begin to mistrust you. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't believe anything that you say. What I think the error in the flat earth is that they notice these things that the government have done wrong. And believe me, I'm not going to say the government has done right all of this time, it definitely hasn't. But then it goes with that and it continues further and further and further. And the danger of that is when it comes to things like climate change, which I do believe in, and I assume that you don't.
I think that climate change is real, but man-made climate change, no. So we are in a changing world, and the climate will change.
Yeah,
I even believe, I think we've been even deluged, flooded.
has been contributed by mankind. If you look at the natural fluctuations of what happens throughout ice age, it's shot up. This isn't an ice age.
No,
This isn't the opposite.
yeah.
I'm not sure what the name is for the bottom of the glass.
Like a heating, or
A heating bill. This is a lot more than that. And that started around the Industrial Revolution.
Can I ask you quietly, did you believe the science in 2020? Did you follow all of that?
Coronavirus existed for sure.
Yeah. For many years. In fact,
People noticed what they could take the advantage from.
yeah. So people were told to trust the science, and things were safe and effective. And now the death rate in America and in the UK is more than 5, possibly as much as 10% higher than it was in 2020. So what the trust the science, and now people, ladies, there's a study that's just been peer reviewed that around 13 to 15% of ladies are having menstrual disruption, shall we say, since the needle. We are seeing, I saw a vicar in a comment section the other day say, last year my funerals were up 15%, this year they're up 30%. People I know in the funeral business are saying we've never been this busy as we are in this year now, in 2023. So trusting the science is what most doctors will do. Trusting the science, like a guy who's in satellite engineering or whatever, he's not in on it. He truly believes the stuff that he's believing. When it comes to reading ice cores, for example, if I'm the guy who's controlling the game and I say, okay, well, we're going to interpret the ice core in this way, this is what the weather has been over 10,000 years, blah, 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 then they're honestly seeing that, they're interpreting it, very smart and what have you, but they're taking that on the basis of using this as like carbon dating as your basis. And the carbon dating has also been proven to be a flawed science. So let's agree to disagree on that. What I want you to go away with is the idea that am I shooting myself and my fellow man in the foot with this agenda? And I would say with climate change, all I see is increasing climate, what do they call them, climate carbon taxes and restrictions on movement, 15-minute cities, which is already quite big here in the UK, limits on your movement. They're going to start charging you by the mile for moving around. A guy called Brown Car Guy on YouTube, he's well supported. He's gone around with one of these atmospheric detectors or measures, and he's gone and stood at Oxford Street, all over London, and measured the atmosphere, and using the machine's own sort of reading, it comes up as green. The moment he walks into the underground, it's off the charts red. It's like this is dangerous environment. So they're pushing people into, but the point is that the safe zone is actually in the traffic, and the unsafe zone is in the underground, which is where they want to push everybody.
The underground, we don't live. The underground is there for about 20 minutes.
Well, I'll come back to my point, is that, I've lived in London for 25 years and, on the outskirts in South London. And I've never felt like, I go out on a crisp morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and the air is perfectly clean. Perfectly clean. So this place can clean itself.
50% of deaths and funeral homes, could that not be attributed to climate change instead of the vaccine? I mean, it seems...
Why wouldn't it be...
jigsaw to each
but then countries that didn't have the same level of uptake, where the uptake of the needle was 30%, they're not seeing that spike. So no, it's definitely attributable to be that.
These correlations can be explained with so many things. Correlation doesn't equal causation.
True.
Of course, countries with higher needle, higher vaccination rates are going to be worse affected by COVID because they wouldn't have higher injection rates.
I'm just using this language because I lost my last YouTube channel because you're not allowed to talk too much about this stuff, which is already like weird. So why would YouTube be censoring this conversation? We should be able to talk about these things freely. We don't have to agree, but a guy recently took all the ONS data, the Office of National Statistics data, which is now you can divide it by those that have been needled and those that have not been needled. And the death rate amongst the needled is some 30% higher than those that haven't. In fact, he said if you only took the people who haven't been needled and you applied that to the whole of the UK demographic, the death rate would be 150,000 less this year.
I do understand.
Did you take one? Did you take it?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to. I know that it's like a topic that you're obviously invested in, and I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to be an advisor and say, hey, listen, don't be trusting the science, man, because the science has been proven wrong. Have you heard about the Piltdown man?
Just before we go on to another thing, I understand where you're coming from, and you come across as quite respectful, obviously, well-educated person. Have you ever heard of the quote, you can lie with statistics?
Yes, Bill Gates is famous for that.
I both agree with that, but the way that I take it is, if you say the people who have been vaccinated have a higher death rate, then I see that and go, yeah, okay, but if you're more likely to die from corona, you'll get the vaccine. The people who are the most vaccinated are elderly people
Agree.
who are more likely to
I
die.
absolutely agree on that. I absolutely agree. No, I absolutely agree on that. So when this first happened in 2020, because I used to work in the government doing data management for business improvement. Yeah, so I went and stripped out the death rate for 100 years in this country, and I found that there was an uptick in the death rate for 2020 over the last 5 years, but it was only in the over 85 group. But when if all you did, and it was up by about 50,000 on a normal traffic of about 600,000 now. So when you look at that and you go, okay, so it was only the over 85s that were really affected in that year. Why were we locking down everybody? It didn't make any sense. And then when I went to South Africa and I pulled up their data, it turned out that they lose 500. I'm just off the top of my head now. It was 550,000 the year before, and in 2020 it was 556,000. So the death rate was statistically the same between those 2 years. However, if you watched the TV, which I don't recommend, but if you watched the TV, you would think that there was, people come to me, no, there was 150,000 people died. I said, no, actually what they've done is they've taken a 500-gram pizza that was 8 slices, and they've cut out a 9th slice. They've taken a bit from the heart attacks, they've taken a bit from this, a bit from that, a bit from that, and they've called that corona. And now people are seeing that as, wow, this flu, because you rightly said, coronavirus has been around it's been known about in the medical journals for at least 60 years. So, we've always had coronaviruses. Why this year?
SARS-2.
CoV-2, yeah.
It might have been known about the journals beforehand, but that doesn't really change it. To anybody who has studied that quite a lot, they would have gone, this is very similar to something that's done before. For example, if scientists say that there's a new variety of frog venom, that doesn't mean scientists have been lying to us about frogs.
No.
It means it's a trick. They've seen something in common, which is what they've done with COVID. COVID being known for a long time doesn't mean that there's trust. It means if anything, they've been able to recognise a common pattern. And they recognise those common patterns and they come out against them in the same way that we would give funding to them, which is why the funding is justified.
So most people who got COVID.
Sorry, one second, you okay? Okay, I just don't want to.
Do you want some water? You all right? Do you want some water? There you go. You should go for distilled. Have you ever seen them do an experiment with that Pellegrino? There's a lot of heavy metals in that. Hey, just as an aside, you can once they do they put powerful electric probes in that, and they get all the sediment to form at the bottom, and then they can put a magnet and run it up the side. What is that saying?
It's just the sulfates and the carbons.
Yeah. I recommend distilled water, by the way. But anyway, okay. Okay, just as an aside. But by the way, the most common complaint with COVID is a scratchy throat and cough and stuff. So really, it's really just a rebranding of flu. It's a rebranding of colds and flu. That's really all it was. And yes, we know that older people, when they get flu, it can become pneumonia. And that pneumonia can be a death sentence for them. Also, when you're old and frightened, and now your grandchildren can't visit you, you get kicked out of elective surgery, you get kicked out of hospital and good care and put into a care home. Now you're starting to see why maybe the 85-year-olds were in a changed environment, which killed them.
This is where I think the debate changes. Because what you're doing is you're seeing the way that some care homes have gone about it and some governments have gone about it. And I agree it's wrong. I've had people who have attended their parents' funeral via Zoom. That I understand the
It's a crime against humanity then.
I agree with that, but that doesn't change the baseline of how things are going about. I've known, just couples who get in arguments. The person who's in the wrong isn't always the one who's the person who seems far away. If you make a good point and I start shouting and getting angry, sorry. If I'm making a good point, but I'm going about it in the wrong way, that doesn't change the inherent truth of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it's an honourable thing to try and stop people getting COVID, because I do believe it's an honourable thing to try and fight against it. Just because the way that it's gone about isn't positive, doesn't mean that the inherent truth.
Okay, let me offer you this in closing. Yes. Yeah.
Can I just add something quick?
Yeah. Sorry, yes. You can see me for a moment.
Take this
Hi,
for
guys.
example, when rules,
How you doing?
regulation and guidelines came out for COVID, they were lying because they said you can be fined. You cannot be fined. It's under individual notice. It's not legal, it's not law. But what they were saying on transport is that you may get fined XYZ. Only a court can fine you. And you can't go to court for you not taking, for wearing a mask or taking anything.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of money on marketing, fear-mongering, and this was a big thing of it, because I was going to make this point, thanks for saying that, but I was going to make this point, which is that Louis Pasteur, who's the grandfather of germ theory, he on his deathbed is said to have recanted and said it's all about terrain. It's actually about the terrain. How you live your life is far more likely to make you determine your well-being than your neighbor. Your neighbor can get himself drunk and eat McDonald's all day long. It's not going to affect your health at all. And so what I didn't see in COVID times was rows and rows of ambulances turning up to a single home saying, well, somebody was locked in there and the whole family have gone down and died, right? I never saw that once. People say, I know someone who died of it. So who did they get it from? And who else did they kill? And I've never heard anyone give me a satisfactory answer to say, oh, well, there's a string of people you can follow. Bum, 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 bum. That's good science to say, let's follow the trail from this person to this. What we saw was that, COVID is on TV. COVID has arrived in the country now. Tomorrow it's spread to 3 cities. Tomorrow it's spread to the whole country. And when I drove around, because I wasn't locked down, by the way. When I drove around during the lockdowns, I would go to places and they'd say to me, it's not here. It's over there. Or we don't want you down in Cornwall, please, because you're coming from London. It's all up there. And everywhere I went, it was like, it's not really a problem here. It's somewhere else. Or I'd go to a hospital and it'd be like, there's no one here. And other people did this. They made videos. Yeah. Yeah. Empty. Or what they'd done is they'd shut hospitals down and made them clean wards, and they'd shunted the patients into one instead of having 3 hospitals for them to go to. So one hospital might have been busy, but that's because the other 2 were shut down. So no, that's the dark side of the moon. I like that. We've never been there, have we? We've never seen the dark side. No. So that's one of the weird things, they call it tidal locking, how the moon is somehow always facing the same way, and that the craters, therefore, that have been created on the moon had to have had asteroids or rocks come through the Earth in order to strike them at perpendicular, because there's no like side shots, there's no glancing shots of these things. So what are the craters on the moon if they're not what we've been told? We think it's a plasma, and I can't say I know what they are, but we do have some interesting speculations on that. So did man ever land on the moon? I used to believe that, but Buzz Aldrin himself said, no, we never went. In Hebrew, NASA means to deceive. They fabricate they admit that all of their pictures are CGI. In fact, there's a guy here called Rob Simmons. He made the picture that everybody knows as the blue marble that went onto the iPhone in 2005, 2007. And it was all done from data. So what they do is they take the data and they turn it into color. And if you look at some of these pictures of the Earth over there, you'll notice if you look closely at America is sometimes twice the size in 2012 than it was in 2015. So none of these things try to add up. Well, the sea is level. So we live with 70% water. So if you're lying in the bath and your knees are sticking out above the water, those would be the continents and the water is around them. Well, that's an interesting one. You see, if it was the moon, as they say, then the Mediterranean should have tides. The Great Lakes in America should have tides, and they do not. The fjords in the Scandinavian fjord, the sea, Swedish Sea, does not have tide. There is no tide there. So these bodies of water, if it was true, should be pulled equally. Whereas here in England, you've got 20, 25-foot tides. But you can go onto the equator and get 2-foot tides, which should have the biggest, given this idea, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says, the Earth is bulging because of the pull of the moon and all this sort of stuff. The tide should be strongest, biggest, most notable at the equator, not here in England. Whereas here in England, we've got this massive tides, and I've seen them myself. Boats are sitting on the water, on the floor, and then they're up floating 10 foot above the water, a few hours later.
I'm sure it depends a lot on the water displacement. Well, it would be very
I agree with... Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. But that's more to do with the conversation of how far the tide will go out. Because yes, if you're on a shallow, then just a 2-foot drop in tide could mean you're walking out 100 meters to meet the tide, right? But this is actually a literal 20 in England anyway, where you could be in a harbour, and that harbour will be dry in the morning and under 20 foot of water in later in the day. So it's a matter of accepted fact that the tides are 20, 25 foot in certain parts of England, and yet we're on a similar parallel to the Scandinavian fjords and the Swedish Sea, and so therefore they should also have a tide, but they have no tide at all. So to answer your question, my honest feeling or assertion is that on a flat Earth there are pumping systems. So there's pumping systems that bring water in and take water out. And if you're closer to that pumping system, you're going to have a more significant tide. And it's my contention that those pumping systems are in the north and the south, which is why here in the north we get these massive tides. But if you're in an enclosed sea like the Mediterranean or the Great Lakes, then there is no accessible tide. The Mediterranean is connected.
It's all just like one big plate. Pumping in one area also affect the level of water in another area. It's all one body of water.
No, that's a fair point. But I think that if you went to a swimming pool, you would feel the effect of the pump when you were closest to where the jet was, but when you were further away. Yes, are the sea levels... Is there a mean sea level on Earth? Yes, all geographic maps use one mean sea level, although the USGS accepts that there is a 9-inch difference between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. So there are some variations, but it's a fair point. But I just think that where the tides are strongest is where the pumps are. Now, I've been to the Cape Point in South Africa, which is the southernmost point of Africa, and this is long before I found the flat Earth theory. And I've stood there on a day and I've been able to see perfectly clearly the two oceans side by side, almost like a line had been drawn between them. Now we know that you go onto the west coast of South Africa, the water is very clean and very cold. But if you go onto the east coast of South Africa, the water is dirty and warm. So that water has been traveling down the east coast of Africa, all the way down the east coast of Africa, and seems to be going out and away. And then clean water, cold water, fresh water is coming up. And this is one of my theories as to how these pumping systems work and how you can have these two bodies of water sitting side by side and be very obvious. One is clean, one is browner, one is much murkier.
I would have figured that was because
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just... I mean, remember...
massive amount of body of water.
Yeah.
This isn't quite as much water.
Yeah.
This isn't quite as much water. Just what we've got going on is these big circular motions of water going around.
Yeah.
I mean,
So this is
the Pacific Ocean. This is beneath India. So this is the Indian.
This is,
Ocean right
I think this is, well, no, yeah, this is your Indian Ocean here, yes?
And this is the Atlantic, correct?
Yep.
So you've got these big circular motions of water because the water, it doesn't squeeze through here as easily because it's kind of sort of, it's all one body of water, but it's like...
It's one body of water, yes.
Sort of create this bowl.
Yeah.
Ever look really closely and pour water from the sink into like it creates these little currents.
Yeah.
What is it called when water molecules stick together?
I feel angry.
I'm forgetting the name of it. Like when you have two little dots of water and as soon as they touch, they just turn to one.
Okay, yeah, like a coalescing or a coming together.
It's
Yeah.
like the elastic, not elastic. Water molecules stick together, so they kind of create these currents.
Yes.
And it's defined by, and I'm not exactly a scientist, I'm just trying to put it together.
Uh-huh.
Devil's advocate.
Uh-huh.
The continents seem to be creating that sort of bowl effect containing water.
Okay.
Don't persist
Yeah.
through that.
Okay. So let me just say firstly that this is a theoretical conception of how the Earth might look. It is based on the same logo or the same image is the USGS logo. It is the United Nations logo. They used exactly the same image. And this was how aeroplanes flew over the flat Earth back in the 1950s. They used that same map. So exactly how it all works, yeah, I mean, it'll come down to eddies and these sort of moving things, and if there's more heat in certain parts of the Earth, if you heat the water up, it's going to move differently, and then if you're cooling it and it's contracting, right?
That's not the only place. You say it was like there was a line down there.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Basically, as soon as you transition from the Atlantic Ocean
Yeah.
to Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean is like this very dirty body of water.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, all the
Yeah.
way down, it's the
Yeah.
same all the way down to
Yeah.
Cape of Africa.
Yeah.
But as soon as you enter
Into
that
here.
little Gulf of
Yeah.
Mexico, it's beautiful clear.
There you go. So now you could see how water could be flowing this way, but actually not be able to kind of enter into the Gulf and to sort of infect or dirty the waters of the Gulf. So that Gulf is warmer water because it's more like a pool that's been, if you've ever been to a river and there's a little pool on the side, that water's warm because it's not being affected by the main flow of the water flow, Now, what I say to people is when I get into this deep into the conversation is that it's probably an electromagnetic torus. And so everything is turning like an electromagnetic toroidal hyperboloid. It's spinning like this, so it's creating movement. So you'll have movement around, which can drive, that same movement can drive the turning of the moving of the oceans. I accept that. But this started from how do I explain the tides? And I think that it's to do primarily doing with the locality of the pumping systems that operate these. That doesn't mean to say there aren't undersea, bodies, water being pushed up in these geysers and whatnot. I think that there's things that are moving underneath. It's not as simple as saying, well, there's one pump there and there's another pump over there. That's it. But in the way the biblical guys see it is that in the old biblical terms is that there are four corners to the earth. And at these four corners, you get the winds, you get maybe there's the pumping system. Because if you've been as you've traveled, you get to a different place in the earth and it's like, oh, well, the wind typically blows from the southeast here. Or we only get a northwester here, and the winds typically only blow in one direction or two directions in a particular place. Some of that, I understand, is caused by a heating here, causing a higher pressure, and then they're moving to the low pressure area, so that'll cause that wind naturally. But typically there's a prevailing wind that comes into a place, and it's got nothing to do with Earth's spin, because they don't. If you try and sort of relate them to, well, if the Earth is spinning this way, how come the wind is blowing that way? Against that. I mean, the Canadian wildfires, for example, they blew all the way down from Canada into New York. And that's against the spin of the Earth. It's counter to the way that the smoke should grow if there had any bearing on the spin of the Earth. Sure.
On one side, and that it's a constant flow. Like what's the term for that wind called? The prevailing east. So I mean that's the general trend. But I mean
where in America?
Not just. I mean maybe there's.
Yeah, because we don't have an east. You can go to South Africa and there's places where you only get a west wind. So there are places in the world that only get winds blowing.
It's relative to the local geography.
Sure, that's going to have a bearing. Yes.
When we had that polar freeze a few years ago, that was a large trend of wind just traveling south. You know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah, that's what we're told, but it might be nuanced. It might be, yeah.
The wind's traveling this way because the Earth's traveling this way. It's so polar. It's mountains create blocks of wind coming up from one side, creating that's how deserts are. The Himalayan mountains, for example.
Yeah.
Wind comes up from the Indian Ocean, is blocked by the Himalayan mountains, And that's why south of the Himalayas Mountains you have such lush rainforests and all things like that.
Yeah.
And just north of that, you
Yeah.
have Mongolian desert.
Yeah. Because say the wind is coming in at one direction, it's being pushed up high and then cooling, and so there's a lot of variations on that. But I've been on this 8 years now, and I look at wind directions and so on, and it doesn't quite sit with. This is all from a spinning globe and a little bit of heat here. I know it's complicated and it's not a straightforward answer, but I'm just giving you my take on how it might be. There might be another explanation other than the one we were all taught when we were in school. The thing that we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour but can't measure it is one of the things that we don't ask when we're in school. Well, what's the experiment that proves that the Earth is spinning? Oh, well, I asked the European Space Agency staff. I ran into them while I was on the Globe Light Tour in 2019 in Italy, and I said they happened to come by, and I said, so what's your best experiment or proof that the Earth is spinning? And the lady looked up to the sky and she said, because the sun's rising. Well, that's what we say, the sun is rising, it's not us spinning.
I remember learning in science class a couple of years ago, there's an equation that determines the speed that an object is orbiting around another object. And if you use that equation to determine the speed that the Earth is traveling around the sun, you can use that equation to determine how far away it is.
Okay.
You need the mass of the Earth, though, and that's not exactly something that
No, but also they never deal with the three body problem. Is that it's not only that the Earth is moving around the sun, but the sun is actually moving through the galaxy. And it's once you add that extra vector in, you start to come up with problems with that, and that then all of these planets, as they call them, that are spinning around the solar system, are then having to follow the sun's vector through the galaxy. And not only that, there's a fourth movement because the galaxy itself is moving separately in another direction at about 1 million miles an hour through the universe, and so that's a fourth vector and a fourth movement that everything needs to be still attached to this spinning heliocentric model. So there are some serious, which is it? Okay, so if we came up with the problem and said, now how are we going to solve the problem of this three-body, conundrum? Come up with a theory. So can you prove the theory? No, because that's why we call it a theory, because it's an idea of how it might work. So if we recognize honestly that it's a theory, we go, okay, well, maybe there's another explanation. What if the explanation is, as I've just described, that it's an electromagnetic torus and everything is in a turning? It's turning at 15 degrees an hour, which is what we see, 15 degrees an hour of movement. They can measure that with the interferometer. But what if it's that it's these lights that are turning in our environment and they're turning around us, as us being the center of this place, and we're not moving at all, which is what a lot of scientists used to say before they went to the moon, because it was only once they went to the moon, apparently, that they put that question to bed. But we haven't been back in 50 or 60 years, and we've lost the technology in 50 or 60 years. Everything else technologically is light years ahead of what the technology was in the 1960s, and yet we can't go back to the moon, put a man on the moon. And even the Indians recently, all they could put was a cartoon on the moon, Whereas if you saw that, they landed what looked like a cartoon on the moon. But we can't actually go and check these things for ourselves. We have to just take it because we saw it on TV as read.
Can I ask you to back up for a second?
Yeah.
I don't mean like why then, if the Earth is flat, why have we as a society been lied to, and what's beneath it? Like what is it all? What is the history of this?
Well, we don't know what's beneath us. Yeah. So we don't know what's beneath us, but rock and maybe some water. We drilled 7.5 miles into the ground. That's as far as we can go. The deepest, it's called the Kola Deep in Russia, and they gave up in 1997 because they couldn't get any deeper. For years they were trying to get a little deeper, but they couldn't. Why the lie? The lie is to control. Simply, that's the quick answer, is to control mankind. Same as religion, to control mankind. So I think that we are the expression of consciousness, of God, or whatever created this place. And some entity, whether it be bad man or some other non-human entity or whatever, has decreed or decided to control us. I think that it's a test, possibly, to see whether you're going to be caught up in the game or whether you're going to learn about yourself. But I think it's control. And I mean, we pay a lot in taxes. Just NASA Americans pay $70 million a day for NASA. $70 million a day for NASA. So that's a lot of tax dollars. We go to war with each other, and it's not the bankers that pay, it's you and me, the taxpayer, that pay. It's all about control. George Bush is, you American or Canadian? George Bush is the last George Bush president. His grandfather, Prescott Bush, did jail time for funding Hitler. Did you know that? They wouldn't have taught you that in school. Did they also teach you that George Bush Jr. used to eat dinner and was in business partnership with Osama bin Laden's family? So,
I'm not, to be clear with you, I'm not a fan of either the Republicans or the Democrats.
Yeah, but so the hard news is that I don't think that America ever got its independence. I think that it has always been an extension of the empire, and the empire is not me, because I have an English accent. The empire is something above the king or the queen, and something that controls perhaps them as well. But like American lawyers, they have to, to be a successful lawyer, you have to take the bar, right? The bar is the British Actuarial Register. Why would Americans have anything to do with the British when it comes to law? The taxes that you pay are being, the IRS is really just a siphoning system that I believe belongs to the pirates that are the people that run our world. So I think it's always been about control, right? And what happened was that people lost faith in religion, because religion was the means of controlling people. And now they've given us a science of belief that has us outside of ourselves, wanting to go like Elon Musk to Mars. Do you know that the guy who took us to the moon, the guy who headed the rocket program for NASA was a guy called Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun was a Nazi rocket scientist, came in under paperclip. Yeah. Now he put on his tombstone one inscription, Psalms 19:1, which says that the heavens showeth God's handiwork and the firmament, blah, blah, blah. So that's all he put on his tombstone. But he also wrote a book in 1954, about a guy called Elon taking mankind to Mars. In 1954, Elon's not an unusual name. And the guy called Elon's now taking mankind to Mars. And I believe that's about getting you outside of yourself, rather than realizing that you inside of you is all of creation. You are the expression of creation. And we might be projecting this creation from within. That whatever God is, whatever Allah is, that it's expressing through you and is here to be on a schooling or growing rather than a misleading. But there's people or entities that want to mislead and want to control. And that's why I think that they have us believing in man on the moon or aliens. The alien deception, by the way, Werner von Braun's secretary said that on his deathbed he was saying they're going to try and trick mankind with an alien deception. That's going to be the final deception, is aliens have come to take over the world. And we will, all mankind, have to come together under one United Nations, just like Ronald Reagan said in 1978 or 83 or something. He said imagine if there was an alien threat, then mankind would come together under one control. And that's where we're heading, is one control. And what COVID did, the corona years, was to begin the exercising of that control grid. Is they're saying, all right, we're going to shut you down tomorrow, you down next week. And that's how they played it. So I believe that we're under a control system, and the alien deception is going to be used because loads of people believe it, and there's all these revelations, and there's the, what they call it, the Disclosure Project that Greer runs and whatever. That's all a military op, and it's designed to control us, put us under more draconian restriction. They're coming up with 15-minute cities in this country now. You might be getting them in America too. And I know even in New York you have to pay, just like they do now. ULEZ.
I've heard that phrase before. I'm not entirely sure what it means.
15 minutes.
Everything necessary.
That's right.
Like
that,
food, water, medicine.
And therefore you should never need to leave that. And how they're doing it in Oxford is that you'll be allowed to leave 100 times a year from that 15-minute zone. Outside of that, you'll be penalized. That's now. When they brought in the congestion charge here, they said it'll never be bigger than this area and it'll cost a couple of quid. When they brought in plastic bags, which we didn't want, the the charge on plastic bags, it'll only be 5 pence. It's now 30 pence. Everything starts soft and gets harder incrementally once it's in place. And so they've extended the ULEZ control zone. I see them putting up cameras all over the country now because they're going to start charging people by the mile to move around. They're already penalizing us for traveling. The cost of traveling, it's going to be more restrictive in future. But the 15-minute city, essentially, and you see these new builds, these new complexes. The gym is there, the coffee shop, the supermarket, it's all there. So you work from home, you stay in your little cubicle, you go downstairs, maybe get 10 minutes with your feet on the grass, and then you go back upstairs again. And you never need to leave that 15-minute zone unless by permission. But there's this. It's not. Well, I don't want it.
Don't want it, but what I'm saying is, you're looking across the world, various people.
Yeah.
Certain people won't be in that.
Absolutely, but I also think it's not. The cities are. It's like if you're a sheep farmer. You've got to have pens because it's easy to control your sheep. You can't just let them walk wherever they want, right? Well, if we're in a farm, then the best way to control them is to keep them inside of a space. So I say to people that, okay, it's coming. I'm not trying to tell you to frighten you. I'm just saying it's coming. Be aware of that, and then how do you react to that? Do you go, okay, I don't mind. I'm happy to live my life in this 15-minute city, and if I have to ask permission, or I can only leave 20 times a year or whatever, that's fine if that's what you choose. But I would say go and live in the country because that's the hardest place to be controlled. And of course, if you care about your body and your health, then of course if you can start growing your own food, living more closely with nature, then that's the antithesis to what's coming. So, sort of hunter-gatherer, but I mean, you can still be a farmer. You can still, go hunter-gatherer, but you can still be a farmer and be in a community of people who share clean, what they call organic type food. I would say that's a great antidote to what's coming, because what's coming is coming. I don't have any grand illusions of that I'm going to stop it. Global warming is, again, I mean, I was saying to someone just now, climate change is a natural, we have cold periods, we have hot periods in the world. I don't think that mankind can really alter that at all, although with the geoengineering that they're doing, they're obviously trying. You're aware of geoengineering, right? Well, particularly in this case, I'm talking about the chemtrails. Planes, yeah. Where we and I only knew about this 7 years ago, so 8 years ago, and I've been observing the skies wherever I go, and I'm very aware that when I was a child, the condensation trail from a plane lasted about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Now it lasts for hours, and it spreads and spreads and spreads and becomes thicker over the course of the day. And I mean, there's people who come here and speak vehemently on this topic. But American government has admitted that they're altering the climate on purpose. They're doing, in fact, the Beijing. We all knew in 2008 that the Beijing Olympics, they'd done some geoengineering to clear the skies in advance of the Beijing Olympics. So, and whether, for example, back in the 1950s, you could do cloud seeding. You could say, I can buy rain. Or wealthy people in America are buying clear weather for their wedding. They can have, cloud seeders and people go and cause the rain to drop over there, or keep the sky clear here. So so geoengineering, if you start to look up, and if you look at old photos that you have, you'll see these streaks through the sky, and those streaks are tens of miles as far as your eye can see long, and they just over hours will just spread, not dissipate like steam should. So, are we altering the climate? Yes, but not because we're breathing, farting, or going around in our cars and planes. I don't believe that. But as I was saying to some other youngsters today, that's okay. That's okay. Are you aware that trees survive on CO2?
Yeah, but the carbon cycle is complicated. It's not just as simple as carbon goes up and comes down. It's stored, trees store it, the soil stores it, but you degrade the soil with the poisons that are being produced.
That's a Monsanto conversation. Yeah, that's a Monsanto conversation. And I'm with you on that. I'm with you on us denuding the soil and monoculture farming. Some of that.
When you get dry and you've got a lot of nitrogen, and then you get a lot of rain, that nitrogen gets into the water supply.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you get a lot of blue babies. Babies become born blue because of the amount of nitrogen that's been absorbed by the human being.
Why nitrogen?
They had that in 1976.
How are you guys doing? How's the chat looking? All good there?
Nitrogen.
The Grey Pope, yeah.
The plants and whatever.
Hi, Ian.
But it builds up.
Ian,
so you
nice to see you, bro.
on, and then you get heavy rain, and it all comes down in one big solid lump.
Yeah, I mean, we some of this, remember, a lot of what we see on the TV, a lot of what the scientists are learning is part of the control system. I'll use the example of the medical thing, because the medical profession is largely funded by pharmaceutical industry. So the pharmaceutical industry will give them information that suits their agenda. And so they will proceed with a thalidomide scandal. That's a well-known. That's not even a conspiracy theory, right? But they will proceed with that, honestly believing they're doing the right thing for the mother. They will vaccinate every child with vitamin K at birth, honestly believing that's the best thing to do for them, which I do not accept. I have a 6-year-old child who's never had a needle near him, and he's super healthy. And that's just not by coincidence. That's because I do not believe that we were created needing man's intervention. Other than for, yes, if you denude the soil, if you poison the air, if you poison the water, then they are going to turn up with illness. And you might say, well, the only choice now is to go for some medicine.
Who's doing all this?
It's hard to put a finger on it, but that's a good answer actually, because man could be his own worst enemy. If you think about the health and safety culture, right? Like the health and safety culture comes from the insurance industry, who's well, there was one guy who fell off a ladder. So everyone who ever uses a ladder in future has to have someone stand by them, has to have knee pads, has to have a helmet, has to have this, has to have that. So we end up being our own worst enemy. But the other answer is, all roads may lead to Rome, and that there could be a sort of club, a group of mankind or non-mankind entities that are somehow controlled.
It started with money.
No, money's the grease, really, because the people who run the world do not need that. They've been raping and pillaging the gold and the what have you. I think that they have so much money. They use money as a tool, because if I offer you 10,000, not you personally, but I offer a man 10,000 pounds, there's a lot of things he would do for 10,000 pounds, right? So I can use the money as my tool to get you to be, and in fact, if you want to be, you want to be the best salesman, you'll sell people shit that they really do not need, because you can earn extra money and go on 2 holidays next year. So money is a grease. It's a tool. It's a mechanism. Yes, we need a means of exchange, but it has been, I think, weaponized so that I can get you to go to war with someone else for control. For control, yeah. The end is control, the controlling of us. But I was saying to this fella here, I think that it's more than, we are not just this physical avatar. I used to be an atheist, up until 47. I took DMT at age 47, and it changed my life, because I realized then that there is a higher essence here, and that I'm part of something eternal. And we are all part of something eternal. So we are not just here in this one incarnation. Now, no. As I say, 47. My dying mother in 2011 couldn't get me to accept that there was something more. Well, I'm not even sure of the hunt. I think the hunter-gatherer, that's another conversation, because I think we've been, the Noah's flood story. I think that happened 400 or 500 years ago. And when a flood or an event, a cataclysm happens every 500 years that wipes out mankind, when that happens, then the survivors become hunter-gatherers. They become cave people. And then over time, civilization picks itself back up again. So I don't know about that hunter-gatherer 30,000 years ago. I wouldn't argue against it, but I think that we may have come here with knowledge. We may have come here. When we walk around these buildings and see how beautiful they were, from people who were horse and cart, people in the 1800s had horse and cart, and yet they built buildings that we still ogle at today. And our cars are way ahead of our space technology is whatever it is, No, I'm not sure that I accept that. I used to. Now, I think that we are more than simply, this physical avatar. Let me just answer this, gentlemen. I think we are more than this physical avatar. I think that we have a higher self, or a soul, that is here in the physical avatar, and that we are in a soul trap. And the soul trap is designed to get you to go against your brother and to go against yourself, essentially. Because when I hurt my brother, I'm hurting myself. And so I think that we are here to learn that, to find our way home to love, to God, but not via the mechanism of hurting another. So I do truly believe that there is a soul. There's something at the soul level. So it could be Satan, devilish, but there's something at the soul level that they're doing, which has got nothing to do with the money or the control or the war or all of those sort of things. So it's much more beautiful than it. Two answers to that. One is that if you want to be the master of your own ship, you have to go out and sail all kinds of seas in order to do that, right? So if I gave you I gave you everything, then you would never have to learn it, yeah? If I gave you, if you got everything handed to you, you'd never have the experience of learning to walk, learning to overcome challenges and hurdles. In the same way as the captain of a ship. He doesn't need a piece of paper to say he's a captain. He needs to have spent the years on the water in torrential rain and squalid conditions, yes, in order to have grown to be that true captain of the ship. Gone to different harbors, etc. And I think that this is my favorite answer to that question, is that it needs to be a test. It can't be easy. And if you get seduced by the Disneyland, as I call it, the way this is, if you get seduced by that, then probably you come back again and try again. That's how I think. The other way is that there is some, like David Icke would say, there is some archonic, non-human entity that is siphoning our energy, harvesting human energy, and they do that through the aegis of your life energy. Now, kind of, you know, the guys who wrote The Matrix, the Wachowski brothers, who later went on and became Wachowski sisters, they said that this is a true story. And there's another great one by Carpenter, which called They Live. Have you heard of the movie They Live? 1988, I think it was released. They Live is one where there are two types of people here, but you can't see them unless you put on these special glasses. And once you put them on, you can see that everything here is getting you to obey, to consume, to follow, and then there are these few sort of alien-looking beings, but they look like humans until you put the glasses on. So it could be that. It could be that there is that, you know. I don't like that answer, but I've got to keep that on the table. So, but my preferred answer is that it's a test. It's like, are you going to get caught up in Disneyland and get just eating the candy and hanging out with Mickey Mouse, like most of these people? Or are you going to learn? The ability to listen is a powerful thing. And the ability to hold. He's coming back for more. Hi. Yeah.
I've got one quick question for you. I've been waiting a little while.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to be on camera.
That's all right.
We can be on mic.
I'll let my friend see me for a few minutes. Okay. Hello.
Last night,
night before.
The full moon. Yeah. So the moon went down.
Yes.
So I'm agreeing with what we talked about.
Yeah.
So I could have a conversation with you all day.
Okay.
Right. So the moon came up.
Yes.
The sun went down.
Yeah.
And when it got up, just over the horizon, it was bright. Now, how did that sunlight that went down behind the Earth illuminate the moon? I don't know. So I'm open to.
Yeah, because it's self-illuminating. The moon is a self-illuminating system. It cannot be a reflector. And actually, if it was a reflector, it would be so bright. Yeah. Like when they landed on the moon, it would have been the brightest thing. It would have melted everything. Because by the law of inverse...
Light doesn't necessarily mean heat.
Well, no, I'd accept... Well, light is heat. I mean, the more light if you go up to a lamp, it's kind of giving off all of that heat. But no, in terms of it being a reflector, if it was a ball reflecting light...
You said it was made of plasma.
Yeah, that was what scientists were claiming in the 1950s. So I'm thinking that it's a plasma. Exactly what it is open to speculation, not saying I know. But is it a ball of dust? No, because if it was a ball, if you shine a light on a ball, you'll notice you'll get a hot spot on it, and then you'll get a sort of decreasing of the light as it goes towards the edges around the ball. That's what you always see, not a perfectly equally illuminated system. And what I say to people, one of the great things, and you'll see it again tonight with the clouds, is that see the moon above you at 10 o'clock tonight, 11 o'clock.
Night, beautiful.
Yeah. Now in the clouds, you'll see it illuminates very brightly a corona around the cloud. But as you move a mile, 2-3 miles away, it starts to dim. Now ask your friend who's 10 miles away to go outside and say, is it dim? Because from my perspective, it should be dim by you. You go, no, it's giving me a hotspot right here, and it's dim where you are. How can that be the same light illuminating both in such a different way? Same as the sunlight at sunset will come to your feet on the beach. Someone who's 100 meters up will have that. Someone who's 1,000 meters up and 10 miles up will have exactly the same thing. The moon, the light is coming only to their feet, not to they can't see it coming to yours. They can only see it come. So the moon is doing something for us individually. It's like a unique experience for us each individually.
Absolutely. You'll have mood shifts. You'll have
yes.
emotional mood.
Yes. Yes.
I think, I'm not staying long, but I think at the moment, with what was going on and robbing us of our freedom and
yeah.
I think the universe is shifting now, and they can't do nothing about it. Heads will roll, corporations will crumble.
Yes.
It's gone to, it's the yin and yang.
Yes.
It will.
But when it crumbles, where will you be? You see, and it doesn't mean locality. I don't mean locality. I mean in your spirit.
Conscious.
Are you still looking out there for a savior, or have you realized that the savior is within you?
Absolutely.
That you are the reason.
I'm the creator.
Yes.
No, I'm not the victim.
Yes, you are the creator.
But I notice what's going on, but I still have the power to manifest.
Yes.
But I'm not mastering it, to be quite honest with you.
But none of us. I think it's a life journey. I don't know that we have to say there's a finish line.
I've got blockages like around, like most of us have.
Yeah.
Currency.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. I'm not frustrated. I'm patient. I'm thinking. But my damage with money is
right.
awful. A lot of people are, but I'm okay. I just feel because I'm a natural nutritionist and
are you?
a yoga teacher. Consciousness for 22 years.
Okay.
And I know the esoteric side of the scriptures.
Okay.
The scriptures.
Wow. Okay.
But the more money I make, the more people I can help.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing it. I'm not. I get a nice watch. Yeah, a couple of quid, whatever. Get a beautiful watch. Yeah. A nice car. Yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't get that. I want to go to a seminar or a lecture. I want to be able to drive somewhere without breaking out. So I do want some money for myself to live a comfortable life. Yeah. And stay in a hotel. If I go to Australia,
freedom to move.
And have the comfort.
Freedom to move. Absolutely.
But the more money I make, my life is going to be dedicated to facilitating healing.
Well, and the brighter your light, the better you are at illuminating for those around you. You know
what's difficult? Try and visualise that. It's very hard for me.
Yeah. But you sound like you're thinking in the right way. You know, even if you haven't. You're in the right. You're on the right track, on the right course.
Yeah, I found money on the ground, and I thought I'm just touching into it, you know. And I know it's going to come.
Yeah.
There's a patience to it. There's no ego. I don't have the ego. You know, I'm at a beautiful place.
Awesome.
What's your name?
I'm Dave.
Good to meet you, Dave.
What's your name?
Yeah, lovely.
Can I give you a flyer?
I like what you said to that young lad earlier and that young girl.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
Very good. I'll talk to you maybe another time.
Yeah.
Trust law as well.
Oh, okay. I'll give you my flyer, and if you want to send me an email, I won't film it. Hey, how are you guys? I'm a bit thirsty, actually. I'm a bit thirsty. A lot of talking.
At least you remembered your bag was over there.
Oh, yeah, but those are my flyers on the other side, actually.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Took both. This one's on the electromagnetic nature of the universe.
Quantum physics.
Yes, I've studied a bit of that. Take this flyer too. Yes.
Scriptures. Oh, sorry, it's a different one.
Yeah.
The pineal, the serotonin, melatonin, the hippocampus, the pineal gland. What do you think the pineal gland is in the Quran? It's the olive. What it is in the scripture, in the Bible, it's the pine cone.
Yes.
It's all. They don't see it here.
I consider it to be like, you know those Dodgem cars we had in the 70s at the fun fair?
Unfortunately, I do. Yeah.
They had like the probe that touched the roof.
You're looking well, mate. 70s? Yeah, go on.
I'm 55.
Yeah, I'm 63.
Oh yeah, you look really well. Oh.
I,
So you know the probes they had that touched the roof?
Yeah.
That have the little electric.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's our pioneer,
that's
is our
it.
connection to God, is source. Is that?
I had tears in my eyes when I went to watch Avatar 2. It's all in there.
Yes.
I'm like, wow.
Yes.
When you see it,
Yes.
you don't. No,
Now there's a body. Now you mentioned Avatar. There's a body of research that says that some of our biggest mountains on Earth were once trees. It takes a bit of research.
Well, I'll be open-minded.
There's a video called "No Forests on Flat Earth."
Okay.
Go and search that one up, or send me an email and I'll send you a link. I have been looking at rocks again. I love geology. I love looking at the rocks. I've been looking at them again, and when you look at them, they look
Vibration. They've all got a vibration.
yes, but they look like the like trees. I got some laughers. Yeah. Hi guys. You know, I can tell you that you can't prove to me that you live on a globe.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay.
No, I'm curious.
None of us can actually prove we live on a globe. We only believe it because we've seen it on TV, and because we've been told theories, gravity, relativity, Big Bang, which is another theory. So what if I was to tell you that the water in that bottle, when you hold it at any angle, will find a level that is parallel to that bottle of wine, to the lake, to any other body of water, always parallel.
I've got to go. What's your name?
Dave. Always parallel. So you can't prove that we are spinning. Anyone some info? No, keep an open mind. That went down like a lead balloon. Whoa, it's busy in here today at Speaker's Corner. But here I am, my little stand, trying to attract.
And most of Sunday, and we expect them to understand what it is to be only
There's a little quick chalk action. There's that guy there, he likes to. Is.
7 days a week in which, because we pulled all our youth together, and we pulled all our youth resources together, they are being surrounded and guided on all sides in groups of 30 and 40 and more, so that they should most of their lives amongst other Christians. They are products of their environment. Christian pastors
I'm going to improve that.
students of sociology.
How are you guys doing, actually? Thanks for stopping in. I'll get back to the conversation very soon.
He wasn't given to the Gentiles. When the Sabbath was given, so the universe in the Old Testament that said that the Gentiles had to keep the Sabbath.
Okay. Level. Water always finds level. Oh, if you didn't come earlier, you may not have recognized Professor Davis here. And Dave McKeegan, he's here as well. So they've been hanging around, horsing around. which is nice.
We're very curious how much it costs to make it. So we have a bag.
Oh, okay.
This is a very important thing.
These were made a long time ago.
I said greater than 500 pounds it cost.
I think, though, that when people are more interested in that kind of thing, they're not serious about their reality.
What do you mean?
Well, you should be more interested in the content than how much they cost.
Why would I be more interested in the content and how much you're willing to invest to show it? That seems rather judgmental.
No, I'm not.
I say someone willing to invest that much in the content is worth reading. So
Right,
I'm very
right.
Someone who just wants to write something on a piece of paper and say it, I'm not as interested in it.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like, yeah, well, so if you invested a lot in it, then it's more.
Yeah,
valuable.
yeah.
This is sort of the entire purpose of
Let's
it.
say 5,000 pounds then.
Huh?
Let's say 5,000 pounds.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, I'm here to say that the governments of the world are misleading us. I think that's more important than how much my banners cost to make. These were made by a friend some years ago. So we've been using them for about 5 years, going around Europe and this country, trying to inform people that we are being misled by the people that run the game. And the game is to trick us all into giving away our sovereignty, our divine sovereignty, really, that we were given by whatever the Creator is, to come and have an expression of the Creator in this form, in this avatar that you have here before us. But the deception has us all paying taxes for wars that we never joined, and has us at war with each other over concepts like religion and national identity. And these things are not actually of God or of the Creator. I think that's far more important. Those banners I had made over there cost me just about £30 each, and my son helped me with the artwork. So very, very cheap.
That's great.
Yeah, very cheap, but very important message, I believe, that God is within you and mankind is at a crossroads. There's a guy, you sound American. There's a guy called Werner von Braun. He became an American under Operation Paperclip. He was brought there, Nazi scientist. He became the head of the rocket program. And on his tombstone, he wrote only one inscription, Psalms 19:1, which was weird to me as a former atheist, that someone who believed in going to the moon and so on, that he would put Psalms 19:1. Psalms 19:1 says, "The heavens showeth God's handiwork, and that there's a firmament above us." But this guy, right, Werner von Braun, he wrote a book in the 1950s about the Elons going to Mars, and a guy called Elon leading mankind to Mars in the 1950s. You see, because Elon Musk today is a CIA deep state agent who is being given the money to create what we call SpaceX today and Tesla, etc. Because Elon Musk, the story goes, sold, what was it called? It was a software program for some $300 million. PayPal. Do you know how much NASA spends in a week? $400 million. So he went with less than 1 week of NASA's budget and does more than NASA does today. How's that possible? Not only that, he didn't spend all of his $350 million or whatever it was on SpaceX. He started a car company, and he did this, and he did that, and he did the other thing. We're meant to believe this shit.
I don't think there's any secret that he gets a lot of money from the U.S. government.
No. Of course he does. Of course he does. But it's but through the aegis of he's so he's got this amazing space program, because really the American government isn't going to give you a buck, right? Unless you turn up to them and say, look, I've got this amazing product, it's going to do something. So you need to first have developed the product. So how do you, with 6 days of NASA's budget, go and overtake NASA and then go to the government and say, oh, I'll have some more money if you don't mind? No, that doesn't work like that. So you realize that he said it himself when he put a Tesla Roadster in space. He said in the press conference, it looks so fake, it must be real. He said, I didn't adapt that car at all, but we know that if we put a pneumatic tire into a vacuum chamber, NASA has a vacuum chamber, it gets 10 to the minus 6 torr, which is only a fraction of what the outer space is apparently. You pop the tires instantly. The tires would start to expand and eventually they would burst. But the Tesla Roadster was able to go around the sun and all that bullshit. So this is all a game designed to trap the mind and keep us squabbling over stuff, the price of banners, when in fact we should be more concerned about, wow, so we, mankind, are being misled through the aegis of religion, through the aegis of Democrat versus Republican. I like to tell Americans that the George Bush family comes from Granddaddy Prescott Bush. He was Senior's granddaddy. He did time in jail for banking for Hitler. Not many people know that. Not many Americans know that the Gulf of Tonkin affair was later admitted by the American Navy as an attack on themselves to justify the Vietnam War. Not many people know that the American military had the Purple Book, which was the Japanese code book. So did the British, and they knew that the Pearl Harbor attack was coming.
I think the point you're trying to make is that the government self-perpetuates its own power.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like that.
Yeah.
Not the cause of it, but an example.
Yeah, but why? You know, why would they lie? Why would they deceive us? I mean, obviously, to get the Americans to go to war against the Middle East, they lied to us in this country about weapons of mass destruction to get us to go against Saddam Hussein. Yes, we know that Colin Powell was lying when he said, I've got this vial of something that's going to wipe out mankind and blah, blah, blah. And that his weapons of mass destruction trains were actually scrubbing units that the British had sold to Saddam Hussein in the 80s. So they knew exactly what they were when they were telling us these things are weapons of death. And they're doing this, why? Why is Tony Blair and all of these actors? You know, I mean, you may know that the Bush family are also friends with Osama bin Laden's family. You know, business partners. You know, why are they doing this? What are they doing it for? And this is
What do you think?
this is a gateway lie. Well, as I said, but I think because we are the expression of whatever God is.
Let's say this is a gateway lie. So let's just say, I'm taking a Jamaica, right? This is a gateway lie.
Yeah.
How does, other than the government's capable of massive fraud,
Yeah.
which I don't need this lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's say everything you just said.
Yeah. Good position.
But let's say it is.
Yeah.
Okay, like I don't need this particular lie to believe any of the other lies you're going to tell.
Okay.
Daily basis.
Okay. Then you didn't take the needle then.
Well, I mean, it just doesn't. Yeah, no.
They stopped people from traveling, so a lot of people did. You know, but I would say never do it.
Oh, you mean the vaccine?
I lost my last YouTube channel for talking about this topic, so I try
you
and
get it.
steer around it. But
I actually joined an experiment on the vaccine.
okay,
So they paid me to take it.
did they?
Because they were going to make me. So I said, I got to pay.
Wow.
So, yeah, I did an experiment. It ended up being about $1,500.
Well, in South Africa, they were giving people.
I knew it wasn't the Johnson
Yeah.
wasn't that
Well, I've never met anyone like that. But in South Africa, they were paying people KFC. They were giving people KFC to the homeless people. They were saying, we'll give you a KFC if you line up and take the needle. And today, the death rate, the excess deaths is over 10% in America, right? So people are dying faster today than they were 2 years ago. That's a matter of fact. Australia, UK, all of the developed countries that were high, that took a high percentage, their death rates have all spiked in the last year. Matter of fact. You've got pastors saying, I'm doing 10, 15, 20% more funerals. You've got the funeral business saying we're busier than we've ever been now. And they don't talk about that in the media. Why? Because when you look at the difference between those that did and those that didn't, there's something to it. You've seen cardiologists say we're seeing brain bleeds, we're seeing myocarditis on levels that we've never seen before. A peer-reviewed study has just come out in the Lancet this week that says that ladies are 13% up on menstrual irregularities. Peri, post-menopausal ladies are having unusual stuff. So, but let me move on from that because obviously that's a sensitive topic. Why would they create this deception of you live on a ball, it came from a big bang, we're insignificant in the middle of space? Well, most scientists believe that. Most scientists believe, yeah. Yeah, I was an atheist that believed in the Big Bang. I was an atheist that believed.
Prior version of science, before the 1900s was, an infinite universe with no beginning.
Yeah.
The Bible was we have a beginning, and now science says we have a beginning. Now, if you listen to Tony over here, he'll say, well, yeah, but there was a beginning before the beginning.
Yeah.
So science is trying to escape the religious.
Yeah. I can't say how it works, how it all comes into being, but I believe that it's all vibration, it's all electromagnetic. So What is the consciousness? I can't describe it. But I believe that we are within that consciousness, and that it's a series of vibrations, that the trees that we see, the grass, the floor, we are all merely complex vibrations in play. Quantum physics, which, well, I had an experience with ayahuasca or DMT in 2015. I was an atheist. 7 minutes later, I was no longer an atheist. And so then I went and studied quantum physics, because that was the only thing that came close to making sense and trying to understand the nature of how it comes. So I don't know, I still don't know how it comes in. Of course, mainstream, even then, they're like, well, 99% dark matter, so we don't really know what all of that is out there. However, I do think that we might be, whatever the people think is God, we might be it, expressing itself in myriad different ways. So if you cut the orange through center and you find those little cells of orange, each of them are unique bags of orange. Color, taste, flavor, everything is orange, but it's a small fractal of the whole, and which is what I believe that we are. So we have inside of us trees, grass, we have forests of animals and things, creatures that are growing inside of us that would consider this to be the universe. My gut is a biome that they would consider to be the entire universe. Well, we might be inside the biome of the universe that is, we are an expression of. And so I think that expression is they intend, or the system through religion, or science now, which is a lot of belief in religion, theory, or theology, is a lot of belief to try and mislead us from ever knowing this truth about ourselves. We're much easier to control in that way. So yes, we will go to war, we will pay taxes, we will be a good boy and put our kids through the sausage factory and have them come out the other side and just repeat the same mantra. So I think that so I believe that we're meant to, I have two ways of seeing this. One is, you're meant to become the master of your own ship. And the only way you're going to get to be the master of your own ship is for me to kick you out of harbor and for you to go and sail the ice flows and the storms and the dark and all of those things without a compass or whatever. Learn to navigate through the stars and all of those things. That's what I believe that we're here to do, is to grow ourselves, but not outside, within. Grow your soul within. The DMT gave me this clear sense that I am an eternal being, temporarily inhabiting this mortal coil. In 2011, 4 years before that, my mother died, and I wouldn't, at her deathbed, I wouldn't accept that there was a God. So I was pretty staunch in my atheistic belief. What I was given in the 6 or 7 minutes of my near-death, as I call it, experience, was that, wow, my first words when I could speak and I came out of it was, it's true, there's a God. And I had seen myself as a higher being, not necessarily God, but a higher being just waiting there for me to finish this life. Happy, just lying there, everything's fine, nothing here matters, don't worry about anything. It's like what I was given knowledge, it wasn't spoken to me, that we are eternal. We're all connected, there is no separation at the top table, we're all connected and we're all equal in that way. But we're eternal beings. We live this life. We lose ourselves in the Disneyland of it all, or we grow spiritually, and that may mean, I don't know this, but that may mean that we are ascending somehow in a step way. So, because for 8 years now, since I've known this, since 2015 about the flat earth, I'm like, well, why are they deceiving us?
This is classic Judeo-Christian Western.
Do you guys ever look up? You see that X in the sky up there? Do you know what that's about?
Yeah, Elon Musk branding.
That's quick. That's quick. But you know what geoengineering is? Okay, look into chemtrails when you got, look into chemtrails. You'll see pictures in America all over the place where on some days it'll just be this, and these trails won't go away like the steam that they use for the contrail. They will stay, they will widen, and they will thicken, and they will eventually become the cloud blur. So it's called geoengineering. Oh man, back in the 1950s they could do this in America, cloud seeding. It's not new, but what is the intention behind that? So that's just as an aside. Hello, brother. Good, brother. How are you? Yes. Yeah, you're welcome to stand there and tell people the truth. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Well, let me quick. What? Some people say that it's to change the weather. Some people say they're dropping. You'll see American scientists. They'll take the water in Colorado and whatever, and they'll analyze it. They'll say there's strontium, barium, aluminum, all these things in the water that should not be there. They believe that it's coming from the sky, from that. Is it? Are they putting chaff into the air for the for the signals that the Wi-Fi signals? I don't know. Are they trying to poison us through this way? I don't know. But I distill my drinking water, just as an aside. Yes, sir.
Flat Earth is the Islamic doctrine of Flat Earth. The reason why the reason why because once they're in the pilgrimage and they're praying towards the Kaaba, it was east. If it was flat, you go straight to the Kaaba. If it was round, you peg into space.
Yeah. But there's but I mean, in Islam or in the Muslim faith, there is more flat Earth proponents than there are globe. Oh no, I wouldn't. Yeah, because we're not.
There's a campaign before 2020 to split the West.
So, well, what I want to say to this gentleman was that if you take an orange, because nature shows us a lot of circles, right, a lot of spheres, oranges, apples, a good example. However, nature, Allah, does not put the fruit on the outside of the skin. The fruit is always inside of the skin. It must be contained. If you peel the apple or the orange, it will dry and die straight away. If you wring a tree, it will die. It must be in the bark, it must be in the shell. And so therefore in nature shows us everywhere except on this globe that it is inside the container. So what I say is that if you chop the orange top to bottom like this and let it fall open, you're chopping it north to south. And in the center there where the seeds are, that's the only solid part of the orange. You see, everything else is water. No, but I think we are all maybe Muslim because I trust in God, yes. Yes, but I do not need Muhammad, peace be upon him, as my savior. I do not need Jesus as my savior. Yes. No, he's a teacher. Yes. But so no, New World Order has been in place for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. They like to call it New World Order today, but it's been around, just a rebranding. It's been around a long time. However, do I think that they are going to bring about, or there is a cataclysm coming in the next 10, 20, 30 years that is going to mean people go, help, we need... The alien invasion is a good idea. They're coming up with this alien invasion idea. Fake. Bluebeam, Operation Bluebeam. More American technology, yes. Operation Bluebeam will be used. This is what Werner von Braun said to his secretary, a lady called Carol, I forget her surname. He said to her, they're going to foment these wars, and the third and final war will be a war against the aliens. And they're going to use the aliens as the conduit to bring about world control, world government. Yeah, the hologram, using Bluebeam hologram to make people... No. But they will say that. However, I have wondered whether, with the COVID, right, what they did was, because no one's ever seen the COVID virus. It's not possible to see it. It's never been taken out of a petri dish and said, here it is, here's the COVID virus. All you've got is a computer-generated image, just like you have with so much stuff in space, a computer-generated image of this thing with spikes on, right? That's a germ. That's an alien. So I do wonder whether actually the alien invasion isn't a germ warfare, that they're going to use germs as the frightening, invisible enemy that none of us can see. We just have to trust that I'm breathing it onto you. If I'd gone back 2 years ago and I was standing this close to you, the police would be arresting me. If you were not wearing the covering, they'd be going, what are you doing? But what has changed? Nothing has changed in our world in these last 2 years, except what's on the TV. And in this country, they went, in the case of course, for 48 hours and went from worry about COVID to worry about Ukraine. And now everyone forgets, now we can all go around and bandy together and go and spend our money on bombs to drop on Ukraine. Yeah. And now we're all on the train and we're all doing everything like we used to do. Some people are getting frightened again, but we're just carrying on like normal, because it's not on the TV. And yet the death rate in the country today is 10% higher, 8% higher than it was in that year. To kill. Part of. Really? I'm sorry for them. In his family. In your network. But in 2020, how many people did we really know, other than maybe one or two old people? Because in 2020, everybody was on their social network on Facebook saying, oh, do you remember Auntie Thing, who you've never seen in 20, 50 years? You've never seen her, but she's just died. Now all of a sudden, oh, I know someone who died of COVID. You wouldn't have known she died. But because in 2020, we'd been weaponized to look out for any death. But actually, the death rate in South Africa was the same. The death rate in this country was marginally up, but that was mostly over 85. Lock us up. I think some people say it's going to be a climate thing. They could be doing it again through these things. Yes, but that was always true, sir. That was always true. My father-in-law died of pneumonia. He'd had cancer treatment, oncology treatment, for the year before, but it was put down as flu or pneumonia. Yeah, so bad flu, yes, and the weaker you are, the more it's going to knock you down. Yes, that's natural business, you know.
So, excuse me, sir. You have any belief? Are you believing in anything in religion?
In religion? I think there's a lot of goodness, good stuff in religion. I respect Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Jesus, peace be upon him. But
they were crooks, these people. How could you respect them?
well, I respected the message.
The message.
The message. It's the message.
So you are a politician, then you know how to.
I don't take sides. I don't take sides with religion. I don't take sides with religion. It's not for religion. For me, because I believe that religion means ligature. It's a bonding. It's a bonding to something outside of yourself. When in fact, whatever God is, it's within you.
So what's your message?
My message is that we've been deceived by the controllers of the world through religion and through science. Science is the new religion of the world today. Most people believe what they see on TV. If Elon Musk says he landed on an asteroid today, they will believe it. If Elon Musk says he put a car in space, they believe it. Even when Elon Musk will say, it looks so fake, it must be real. Right? So no, I'm trying to tell people that we need to wake up from the sleep that we're in, because the more we're asleep, the more that they can trick us into doing things to our body, taking the needle and staying at home.
What is the Earth compared to the universe, or your opinion?
Okay, my opinion is this, is that if you take the orange and you cut it down from top to bottom and you let it fall open, inside of the center of the orange you will find the seeds. Those are the continents. If I make that orange 1 quadrillion times bigger, the seeds are the continents and the water around is the fruit of the seed. Above us is turning the pith of the orange, is electricity running through the pith of the orange in a cycle. And so what you see out there is maybe 1,000 miles. What you see up in the sky is maybe 1,000 miles, not light years away. It's not light years away, it's only 1,000 miles. We live.
That we are nothing compared to the universe.
We are the center of the universe.
We are the center.
We are. We are the center of the universe. Yes. And there's.
Because I am in the theater.
Well, WMAP. Have you know what WMAP is? You know WMAP is a background radiation survey they do every year, and WMAP shows Earth always at the center. Always at the center. WMAP is evidence of that.
I assure you, we are nothing, absolutely nothing compared to the universe.
The brainwashing, the brainwashing has worked extremely well. We are the center. The heart. So the heart is the center of your body. Yes, the heart. The heart is the center of your body, and the heart is an anagram for Earth. You too, brother.
So quick.
You
try to enjoy it.
Take my phone.
No. Try to enjoy life. Enjoy.
So, just quickly, what is the point for the powers that be if we're all either dead or sick?
Population control, because if your flock is too big, they're going to run over you. Yes.
But so many people then end up sick or crippled or that's no benefit.
Oh, what? Who earns money from sick and crippled people?
Well, a lot of people don't.
Those people don't, but remember, the taxpayer in this country, the taxpayer will pick up the tab. The taxpayer is you and your children. Your children will pay the taxes for the medical bills for the sick who cannot work today. The pharmaceutical companies are going to make money either way. So they sell you the poison and they'll sell you the repair.
So you're saying it's population control?
Well, yeah, have you not seen Agenda 2030? Have you not read Agenda 2030? Have you heard of the Georgia Guidestones? You might know, as an American, you might know the Georgia Guidestones. They were destroyed just 3 or 4 years ago, but the Georgia Guidestones were 8 tons granite slab, and in that they wrote to maintain the population. One of the things that they said was to maintain the world population at 500 million. And if you look into Agenda 2030 and what the eugenicists of going back for more than a century have been saying, is that we have to maintain population of the earth. So you can ask young people today, they will tell you that the earth is overpopulated. They will tell you that, oh, there are too many. So actually they are agreeing with this idea that we should cut the population of the earth down. Oh, the cities are too busy. Well, guess what? These cities, that New York, Cleveland, you can look at any of the major cities in the world today. They were built in the 1800s or before. Where are the new cities today? We're just pushing more and more sheep into the same size farm, although all of humanity could live in Alaska and we'd all have a couple of acres to spare, right? And yet they're pushing us into these tiny, tiny cities. Why? Because they want to control us. But eventually those cities become so busy, you have to tax people for driving. You have to stop them moving around. And so, yes, they want population control. What do you think the world wars were? They were a genocide on the European people. And we see a genocide on the African people. We see a genocide on the South American people. We see these people being genocided all over the place. So it's no great secret that there is a genocide program going on. 100 million young men never came back from World War I and World War II. How many hundreds of millions of great-grandchildren never got to have a life, and that would be living today in Europe had it not been for those wars? Well, the Third World War is going to do much more, and it may have already started with the needle campaign, that they're already starting the program of debilitating and reducing and making you more reliant on government, more reliant on the farmer. Because they told me when I was a kid that eventually in the 2000s, people are going to be living on pills all the time. Well, that's what I see in the world today, is that people are so reliant on pills and drugs and pharmaceuticals to keep them alive. That's not living. We're not living older if we're living on pills all of the time. We're not living naturally if we're living on pharmacia all of the time. No, they've been trying to kill us and keep the population under control. Those that they are good slaves, those that work in the nexus of power, that's okay, we'll keep them. But those that are outside of the farm, we'll cull them down. So that's what I see. I see it as unfortunately, and it sounds pretty grotesque, but it's not my agenda. Because as I said earlier, I believe mankind could be 100 billion on Earth and still not overpopulated if we were spreading ourselves out onto the land. But they keep us locked in these cities. And they keep us locked down so that we do in these mental prisons, so that we do not find our own way out. I hope that's a good answer for you. Oh my gosh, they are so, the game is so clever, the game is so well controlled that they give this idea that they're Boris Johnson stupid. They give this idea that they are, George Bush can barely, and the current incumbent President Biden, can barely string 2 sentences together. They give you this idea of that, but these are the PR department of the people who really run the world. If you become, the Donald Trump, you are an operative of a deeper state. You are not the guy making the shots, calling the shots. That's for sure. So the game is much smarter, and the game has been run for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So they've been planning. The world wars were planned. There is a book written a long time ago which spelled this all out. It was called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. And they'll say, oh no, that's a fabrication, it's not true. But yet, a long time ago, they planned these 3 world wars.
They called it straight after World War I, right?
Yeah. And they have been planning these wars and this intention to minimize us, but to get us to hate on ourselves, actually. To get us to agree, actually we need population control. We need to slow down the growth of population. That's what they want. They want us to say, we got to cut mankind back. So unfortunately, and the same is true with this fear agenda of, oh my gosh, there's something invisible in the air. Let's go and line up for inoculations to protect ourselves from it. In my lifetime, I've never seen cancers and the illnesses that exist today. We are not healthier today by any stretch of the imagination than we were in the 1950s. People were much healthier then. So where are we going to be in the 2050s? Read Agenda 2050, read Agenda 2030. Their population control is very much part of it. And Bill Gates said it himself. He said if our vaccination program is successful, we will have a reduction in population of around 15%. That's his own words, if it's successful. Trust me, they are after us and they want us broken. Now, don't get lost in the human story so much, because you are, as I said earlier on, an eternal being. So, it's not like this is all we've got. But I really think that if I'm tricking you, you surely want to know that I'm tricking you, because there's a reason why I'm tricking you. If I'm your partner and I'm tricking you, and your friend says he's tricking on you, you want to know that. Or you're going to hide your bare head in the sand and let him carry on tricking you. But there's a reason why he's tricking you. And you need to know that. And if you don't want to know that, that's your call. That's your life. That's another conversation, brother. But I would say that if you want an answer, all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to Rome. The Vatican. But not the preacher. By the way, I'm not talking about the preacher, right? The preacher, he's just a PR guy. That's the beautiful thing about knowing that the earth is flat, is that the moon cannot be landed on. Therefore, if India is putting a probe on the moon, they've just joined the top club. Because Russia, America, China are not enemies. When they go to war with each other, you've got to know that at the top table they are orchestrating those wars. But you only know that when you know that they pulled off a lie as grand as this. Now, when I wrote my book about being at war in Angola in 1987, and a man came to me and said, I was in intelligence, and I know that the Americans and the Russians and the Cubans and the Angolans and South Africans were meeting to say where your battles would be conducted. I couldn't conceive of that. Because if the earth is flat, it was created. The globe earth, religious people who believe in the globe earth are demeaning the God they claim they believe in. Nowhere in nature does the fruit grow on the outside of the skin. Nowhere. Except this globe that is against God. When you know the earth is flat as it's set out in Genesis, you will know that this place was created, which means that you were created. And not only were you created, but you were created at the center. On purpose. Like a circle. No, circle.
We are what we see. If the moon is round, the earth is round as well.
Do you see a ball? Is that a ball or a circle, bro?
Well, it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. It's a rock.
It's a circle. Yeah, what we see is a circle. What we see when we look at the moon, this gentleman asked me, we look at the moon and we see a ball. No, we don't. We see a circle.
Yes, circle, because when you go far, if I put a rock in here, as far as you go, you're going to look circle.
Bro, if you put a rock there and you let it go, what's going to happen? It's going to fall to the floor. Rocks don't float. Rocks don't float. You've got to have your belief called relativity and theory of gravity to make you believe that the rock can float. What? The light? Yes. Yes. Where to? But you got to believe in space, bro. Yeah, well, I don't know that there's a floor. To where? What's beneath our feet? No, I don't know. I'm making no claims about what's beneath our feet. Yeah, I'm making no claims about that. But like it says in Genesis, God set the earth upon pillars. Now, he separated the waters from the waters. So are we in a bubble inside some dense water in which we can float? Maybe, but I'm not making claims. The claim is with you boys who believe that rocks can float and they can fly around each other for millions and billions of years. That's all bullshit. No, of course it doesn't work like that, bro. You know why? Because density. Heavy things in this air will float, will fall, and in the water they will float if they are buoyant. Well, you don't understand how a plane flies? You don't. That's a stupid question. That's a stupid question. Yes. Yes. If you you know the plane. What? The movement of the Earth is making the plane stop. Yeah, the plane has got the plane. Okay. Right, slow down. Let me help this gentleman. Sir, listen here. So you believe two things. To make this claim, you must believe that the moon has an engine to push it through the atmosphere. Secondly, no plane that we have made, commercial plane, can fly at 100,000 feet. Do you know why? Because the air is so thin, the plane cannot stay up there. The plane flies at 40,000 feet because the atmosphere is dense enough for it to maintain buoyancy. But that's why they cannot go but for a spy plane up to 60 or 70,000 feet. Why? Because after that, the air is so thin, we cannot get anything but that, what do they call it, Branson can go up there to 100,000 feet. Yes. Well, how high? Yeah. Okay, in my world, a rocket has never been more than 50, 60 miles. It's called the Kármán line. Yes. We cannot run a rocket in a vacuum. We can take a vacuum chamber and put rocket fuel in there. It will not ignite. You cannot get a rocket to work. There's no combustion in a vacuum. See, and think, what is it? What? No, the vacuum of space is literally so close to empty. There's no things don't float. You know what? A helium balloon. You know a guy called Felix Baumgartner. Yeah, Felix Baumgartner did the Red Bull jump 10 years ago, and that's the highest a man has been outside of a craft. That's a reality.
You know that fish who works in sea. You know what you call it? Crab.
Yes.
Crab, when he looks up, you see the other fish. He thinks they're flying.
But they are in a dense medium. Yes. No, nothing. Yes, bro. Nothing will fly in a vacuum. Nothing will fly in a vacuum, bro. Nothing flies in a vacuum. The Kármán line, as far as we've gone. Yes.
I lost the results here about 60 million
Wow.
from the solicitation.
Well, you're an inventor. Oh yeah. What have you? Well, you understand this? Okay. And what happened to it? Oh, they stole it from you? Yeah. So what I believe happens, sir, is that good inventors come up with technology, and then they give it to NASA, and then NASA send it into the sea, but then they send you data, because they have to build whatever you send them, they rebuild it. And they'll send you data to replicate the data, the information that you expect to get. So I do not believe that things go beyond the Kármán line. I do not think we can get outside of that. So all satellite technology. Yeah.
From 2005, he stole about 20 million pounds.
Wow, bro. Wow. I'm genuinely sorry for that. Do not trust the system.
America Corp, SIA, Action Force, Police, HMRC, all the authority, even for the government.
They all work for each other, man.
That's why I'm here today, to make the demonstration, to get my money back and my mission also, because I'm feeling not good to be invention.
Yes.
And to invent
wow,
something
man.
new. And then
what's your name, brother? I'm really sorry, man. You shake my hand. I'm really sorry about that. I've got a small platform here, and obviously people are watching now, so just check that out, guys. You go and check out Ashur Faik story. That's going to be interesting. I'll go and check it out. All right, man. Some airtime. Yeah. All right, brother. Good luck, man. My name is Dave. Yeah. Cheers, man. Salam alaikum.
One thing I'm going to correct but clarify. You cited.
Thanks for staying.
You cited the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Which
Yeah.
itself is a fabrication. What it was plagiarizing. It was plagiarizing stuff that had already been written.
Okay.
So just to be clear, it took sources that have been written by someone else. And
Yeah.
they said, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
the old Jews said this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't argue this one.
No,
'cause
I
it
know you don't argue. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
I think what you mean to say, without detracting from your point,
Yeah.
is the fabrication of the Protocols of Elders of Zion was plagiarized from something else that someone actually wrote. So the people knew it wasn't the blame they put on that. You're saying the proper blame goes to and you're talking about, which I think actually makes your message.
Yeah, and
makes
I'm
your
not.
message stronger.
And I'm not trying to pin blame on any one
I
group.
know you're not, so I'm trying to make your point. Sorry,
What-
one other thing.
Yeah, well, just before you move on to that, is just to say that the point really is that they've been talking about the fomenting of 3 world wars for some time. Because that was really my point.
Yeah.
Where it comes from, that's questionable. Anyway, your other point?
So the other point is you cite from Psalms 91.
19.
Oh, I thought it was 91.
I've got it on my other banner over there. So
You said 91 here.
19-1. 19-1. Not 91. 19-1.
Okay. All right.
Psalms 19-1.
Yeah, all right. Sorry.
And I've written it out there, and it's on my flyer, not on this one, but my other flyer.
So I heard that.
Yeah, that's all right.
I know that, and I didn't.
Oh, okay, good.
I didn't think that was correct.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
And that's, I mean, it talks to the firmament. It says, the firmament. By the way, I was 12, 13 years old when my preacher, I was teasing my preachers and saying, hey, the Bible's a flat earth book, of course, but I was believing the science that I was being taught in school. Although I was arguing with my science teacher who was swinging the bucket over her head, telling me that this is how gravity works. I'm like, but gravity's a theory and that's a string in a bucket. So there's 2 physical things that you're using to demonstrate how water could be sitting in this inside of this, on the outside of a ball. So
I have a question for you. We were just discussing this idea of she's a pro-sterilization person, but you just said you are. But nonetheless, okay, no. Okay, she's not right. That for someone that hurts, that's like a strong. She might as well take charge of the government and enforce it with that statement. Okay, but what I need to say is, China obviously went from this one-child policy to a two-child. And they're having significant population problems of not enough people.
Not enough women, I think, is that right? Because boys were more favored.
Because they were limiting it, people were just killing the girls. Yeah. People were just killing the girls.
Yeah. My wife was just listening to something the other day in one of the Eastern European countries where you can buy babies legally. There was this company, she was hearing them talk, and they impregnate 100 women a month. For those women who get $10,000 or euros to hand over the baby at birth. And a Chinese couple were buying a baby because they'd had one and she'd been sterilized or had a hysterectomy. But yeah, because all the boys are playing their games all the time, and
girls are just a bit kind of anti the patriarchy and not really wanting
yeah. I don't blame them.
So what's happening with the 100 babies? Is it?
I mean, this is weird. Some weird subject. Like one of the people they interviewed was an oligarch's wife who had bought 20 babies in the course of 2 years. She had a whole menagerie of children, nannies and whatnot. They said we had another company order 100 or 1,000. I can forget now. We were out walking the dog. A large number, and it's like, well, what are you using them for? And they said, oh well, we've got a family business and we want to raise our own children to run the family. There's some weird shit going on in the world now. I mean, China does have a very large population, it would seem, and so you can kind of understand why they were doing that, but I'm not in favor of that. I'm more like, if you know, I come from a generation, 3-4 generations ago, where 10 children, 8 children were quite normal, and if that was how the family, because. And typically in Africa, where people have children because that's your insurance plan. The policy is that your children will have grandchildren and they will do the hard work when you're in your older years, right? So that was all part of like the natural cycle of things. Maybe there's a higher death rate in life, etc., etc.
Even that's good enough. I mean, young people take care of old people.